Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching second and final part of What If Naruto was trained by spirits of Zabuza and Haku. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Always sting number time. Let's start the story.
Jiraiya murmured, "That was a test to see how they would react to the truth. I lied about the truth to them and I cast a jutsu on this table when I walked up to it. The only ones who will remember what happened will be you three. At the moment I walked up and started to talk, everything that was said after that will be forgotten by them the moment they left this building. It's a jutsu Tsunade came up with during the war to help get info without our enemies remembering we had it. You were all to act like after they learned Naruto was to be king after his grandfather stepped down, they will forget everything about Kyuubi, the threat to Konoha and Naruto uncle." Guy responded, "Why did you do that if I may ask, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya murmured, "I wanted to see their reaction to the news and let you as well. I thought as their senseis you might be able to help change those views." Kurenai responded, "Are they really planning on destroying Konoha like you said?" Jiraiya murmured, "As far as I know not unless provoked. However, that's not the reasons the clans are supporting Naruto now. The reason they are is because of the fact that the king had the Hokage announce Naruto parents. Everything else you heard are for you to know, and wait, the only one who will remember beside you is Tenten, who befriended Naruto, so make sure you tell her not to mention anything else after I walked up." Guy departed after saying, "I will get right on it." Sighing, Asuma remarked, "So the clans are protecting Naruto because of who his parents are, huh?" Jiraiya replied, "Yes, they think if they can get on Naruto's good side they might be able to get an alliance with Whirlpool, or at least that's what the Hyuga want. The moment they get it they will turn on him. The Ino, Shika, Cho group want to do it because Naruto is the son of the Yondaime and they have not actually hated him. If the blonde could get her head out of the Uchiha's ass she would probably be like her teammates in believing the way their parents do. The Inuzaku clan are supporting him because they don't want to be singled out for not supporting him. Shino family is the most logical of the group and your dad has never made it secret that he protects Naruto. I'm disappointed in Hinata. I never knew she would be shallow like that." Kurenai sighed. "According to Asuma, I think all of our female students are, with the exception of that Tenten girl. She knows more than she lets on. I noticed she was the least surprised of everyone." Jiraiya murmured, "Remember this. All your students remember is Naruto is a prince now and is engaged now and will be back for the exams, and he's had his first kill along with him being the Yondaime's son. Everything else is forgotten, so don't slip. Not even the council knows. Kakashi knows, but he feels like a failure so he won't say anything. I got to go CYA." And he left. The end of the flashback. Sakura was still unable to recall the events that followed their discovery that Naruto was a prince until she left the restaurant. It seemed as though nothing was there. The other genins were having similar thoughts, but they reasoned that if it wasn't worth remembering, it wasn't worth looking into. They all spoke with their parents to find out why, and when they found out that they wanted to form an alliance with Whirlpool, they thought it was a flimsy excuse, so none of them really changed their opinions of Naruto all that much. Learning that he killed was shocking, to be sure, but since they were all ninja, it was a necessary part of the job. They simply felt that Naruto was on par with them because they were the descendants of prominent clans. Naruto is back after the reading week was over. Naruto had gained a wealth of knowledge. He discovered something that would come in very handy when battling a Sharingan. At the moment, Haku rested her head on Naruto's lap as he sat on the ground beneath a tree. When she entered, she appeared extremely exhausted, and Naruto inquired about her well-being. She responded with a gentle kiss before dozing off a short while later. When Naruto saw his grandparents approach together, he let out a sigh and leaned against the tree. With a smile, Naruto said, "Hello. Hello Naruto. Let me introduce your grandmother Rina," Rune said with a smile. "Hello Naruto. How are you today?" Rina said with a smile. Naruto replied, "I am pretty good. I learned a lot from the books and scrolls this week. How are you?" Rina sat down and replied, "I am doing fine. Listen Naruto, I know you have a lot of questions you want answered, so your grandfather and I would like to try and answer them. Go ahead and ask anything." "What did you tell the Hokage since you said you sent word to him?" asked Naruto after giving it some thought. Rune grinned. "Business first. Oh well, we sent word to him that you were our grandson and the next in line for the crown. Many of the clans have vowed to protect you, but we know it's just to get on your good side. Humans still want to be powerful." As she sat up and leaned against Naruto, still feeling exhausted, Haku stirred and asked, "What about our future duties?" Rune replied, "As you both know that neither of you will become king and queen until you are married and have an heir. After that you will have to follow the rules that are listed in our lawbook that you will see when you are ready to take the throne. Before that all you have to do is live your life." Haku laughed and replied, "Naruto uncle said something about Naruto might have to have more than one wife. How does that work?" According to Rina, As you have been told, the female of all Kitsune families have complete control in the matters of the love life and childcare. As such, it will be your choice if Naruto will have more than one wife. Know this: you will be first queen if you let him have more than one, but including you there can only be two others. The secrets I told you will have to remain secrets. Naruto asked, so what was my mother like? After Haku nodded. According to Rune, she was free-spirited and had a disrespect for authority, something I see you do as well. His grandparents both laughed. Rina inquired, Haku, if you don't mind me asking, why did you ask about the multiple wives? Is there someone else you're thinking about? A male voice said, Tenten, that's who she was thinking about. As everyone turned, they saw Zabuza approaching a girl who appeared to be Temari, who was about Naruto's age, with green eyes and white hair and a sword on her back. Naruto grinned and said, it's good to see you, Aegean. Zabuza, how are you? As Haku leapt to her feet and ran to embrace her father figure. I am great. I have never felt as good as I do now. By the way, I'm a dragon now, Zabuza said with a laugh. Rune cleared his throat and said, allow me to introduce your personal bodyguard Haku. This is Trinity, daughter of Aragon, who is the leader of the dragons. She is a lightning dragon. Zabuza, from what I have been told, is a water dragon now. I should also tell you that when you return to Konoha, Zabuza is your new sensei and Trinity here is your new teammate, and as much as it pains me to say it, you are all going to be a joint Konoha, Whirlpool ninja team. I have been sending messages to Konoha to the Hokage, who has been sending back messages to me, and we are going to work with a temporary alliance as long as no harm comes to any of you from the people of Konoha. It's a pleasure to meet you, Trinity. Haku bowed and extended her hand. It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Lady Haku. Now that our blood has mixed, we will be able to talk silently in our head, Trinity said, grabbing Haku by the wrist and using her nails to cut it. She then pulled her wrist away, and everyone saw both wounds heal without leaving any scars. Does everyone here have Kyuubi's healing power? Asked Naruto, raising an eyebrow. She laughed and said, Naruto, you are under the wrong impression there. The healing factor you have is not from your uncle but your own. All you actually got from the seal was more chakra from your uncle. Zabuza responded, I am sorry to interrupt, but fear is something that has bothered me ever since I first met Naruto. Uncle, from what I heard, nothing could hurt his uncle in his fox form. How is that possible? With a tone of surprise, Trinity stated, none of you know of the elemental shield yet. Rune replied, no, I had Naruto learning the history of our kingdom, and Zabuza and Haku both were getting used to their new body since their old ones were dead. I was planning on having you all learn that while training over the next couple of months. Trinity replied, then we have our work cut out. From his father wanted me to tell you that sword will be ready within a week. Rune nods and said, Zabuza, since Naruto has your old sword, I had one of our best blacksmith here make you another one just like your old one, except it will allow you to use your dragon powers. Your old one is being fixed and also enhanced so Naruto can use his Kitsune skills. Now to answer your question, Zabuza, we have come up over time many jutsu that other villages could only dream of. One is called the Elemental Shield. Basically it's as a jutsu that lets any element you have mastered into a shield of sorts. You see, when we activate this jutsu, it takes only about as much chakra as a henge, but say you have mastered elemental training of fire and use this jutsu. Any fire damage will not affect you and make you immune to fire until you either run out of chakra or 24 hours, whichever happens first. The more elements you have mastered, the more that you are protected from. So basically all the jutsu they used against Naruto uncle were useless unless they were non-elemental, since he mastered 9 elements. As for physical damage, we have another jutsu that's like the Hyuga ultimate defense, and it surrounds our body with chakra and deflects physical damage, but like I said, this one lasts only for 24 hours also, or until you run out of chakra, but this one uses about as much chakra as water walking, and the more it deflects the more it uses. As of right now, I estimate that Naruto could use both jutsu for perhaps 4 hours, Zabuza for roughly 4, and Haku for roughly 2 hours because she lacks the chakra that you two do. I'm not sure how long Trinity could use them because her father kept their training a secret. I know fire, wind, water, lighting, earth, and ice. What are the other elements? Asked Naruto after giving it some thought. Plant, metal, dark and light, Rina said. Haku replied, but that is 10 elements and Naruto uncle only master 9. Rune replied, you're right, he had yet to learn light. Right now Naruto and Haku both are about halfway to being master of the elements wind, water and ice. Until you reach 6 tails you won't be able to use the just you your uncle did, because you need the 5 main elements to use it, and you both only have 2 main elements and they are not mastered yet. That is why you are both 3-tailed kitsunes, 1 tail for each element that you have unlocked. Naruto replied, so that's how we get more tails. I was wondering about that. Do I need to learn any weapon training given that everyone else on our team has a sword? Haku asked after giving it some thought. Rina replied, That is up to you anyways. This week is for you each to learn to work as a team and learn what each other can do. If you have any question, my husband and I will watch and answer them for you. Okay kiddies, you heard them. Let's start by having a spar taijutsu only and everyone for themselves begin. Zabuza grinned and kicked Naruto in the stomach, sending him flying backwards more quickly than most people could follow. Do you think that he is going to be able to live out there now that the world knows his origins? Rune asked his wife in a low voice so that no one could hear them as he and Rina watched the four of them fight. Rina let out a sigh. No, it appears that what we feared is approaching. After all, it won't be long until it's all over. Humanity is ready to destroy itself. Rune lowered her head and replied, yes, from what Jiraiya said, this group that wants the tailed beast will be moving soon. I hate to say it, but our grandson might be the only one who can save the world. You know what happens if the balance is broken. He shouldn't be the one cursed with this. If only I could do it, Rina said, shedding a tear. I know, sighed Rune. Time passed quickly for Naruto as he lived a happy life in the land of Whirlpool. He was no longer the idiot he once was, and he had improved in every way, including social skills. He and Haku were now closer, and they were frequently spotted together. When he wasn't training, he was now 6 feet tall, weighed about 145 pounds, and wore a face mask similar to Kakashi's, but with a picture of a fox mouth poised for attack across his face, and a blue Enbu-style vest filled with scrolls. Haku herself was also more skilled. The training she received made her mind and body into the body of a perfect assassin, quick, nimble, and lethal, and she was more beautiful than almost anyone. She now wore a red Chinese shirt that looked like Tenten but also had a Chunin-style vest with a vixen on the back, and a pair of sei on her hips. As a trusted member of the Dragon Knights, Zabuza demonstrated his strength as Naruto's personal bodyguard. He now wore a new sword that resembled his old one, but it was red and featured a blue water dragon. His clothes were the same as before, but he now wore a black cloak with the official Whirlpool symbol, which showed a dragon and a kitsune circling each other, with the kitsune wearing a crown. As for the last team member, Trinity, she had joined Haku and Naruto as best friends and was a confidant and trusted advisor when needed. She was dressed similarly to Haku, with a bow staff across her back and black pants and shirt, but with a red dragon breathing black flames on her back. Unfortunately, the team's good fortune had to end, and it was time to head back to Konoha. Haku held Naruto's hand as they made their way to Konoha's gates and asked, so are you ready for this? It's too late now. If I wasn't prepared for this, Naruto snorted. In addition, I believe that our team is at its peak. Trinity replied, don't let your ego or pride blind you, Naruto-sama. It's not pride or ego. Naruto sighed. I simply believe in our abilities. Although I don't think we are unbeatable, I do think that each of us has gotten better to the point where I think nothing short of a group of Junins could truly harm us. I believe that should be made clear in Zabuza's last lesson. Hey, it's not my fault the entire 12 Dragon Knights decided to test you three all at once, Zabuza said with a laugh. Naruto sighed and replied, don't remind me. The only time I ever got my ass kicked worse than that was when Kakashi did the 1000 years of death on me. With a smile, Haku remarked, but it was so much fun playing doctor afterwards, wasn't it, Naruto-kun? Sighing, Naruto uttered, Erohime, you're only stating that because you had to apply burn cream to my body following that last coordinated assault. Smiling, Trinity remarked, you know it, Naruto-sama, it was your own fault for threatening to freeze my father's balls off. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, I had no idea that discussing freezing anything off was offensive to a fire dragon. He grinned and said, if I had known, I would have done it first and run later. You still have a lot to learn, Naruto-sama, Trinity sighed. That's why I value you, Council Trinity, Naruto said, nodding. Saying with a smile, well, there's the gates. With a sly smile, Naruto led the group to the gates and said, let's go. After glancing at the three approaching individuals, the Chunin guards at the gate commanded, halt, state your name and reason for coming to Konoha. SMTZSJSLKKSITWS, was said by Naruto with a sly smile, making the three people around him laugh. As the Chunin put it, what was that? With a sigh, Naruto declared, this is my Whirlpool team. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. To take the Chunin exams, we came here. With wide eyes, the guards exclaimed, right, Namikaze-sama, please go on it. The Hokage wanted to see you when you arrived. After Naruto nods and enters the village with his group, Haku chuckles and remarks, you just had to say that, didn't you, Naruto-kun? As he approached the Hokage tower, Naruto exclaimed, what, I told the truth, I've got to take a piss. As they strolled on, Zabuza remarked, you know, there are times I wonder if he's serious or not. So let me hear who you nominate for the Chunin exams, the third said during a meeting inside the Hokage tower. Kurenai took the stage and declared, I nominate Team 8. According to Asuma, I nominate Team 10 inches. According to Guy, I nominate Team 9. Scowling, Kakashi inquired, is there any word on Naruto? The third responded, no. With a nod, Kakashi declared, I nominate Team 7. At that moment, a knock on the door was heard, and the third person said, enter. When the door opened and 4 people entered, Kakashi swiftly drew a kunai, startling everyone. Naruto then struck him in the stomach, leaving everyone stunned since no one had noticed him move. With a stern and icy tone, Naruto said, now Kakashi Teme, mind explaining why you threatened me and my team when we walked in the door with your weapons? As he collapsed to his knees, gasping for air, Kakashi looked at the person whose fist was in his stomach and uttered the words, how? Who are you and why have to attack one of my Junins? Asked the third. After taking a step back, Naruto grabbed his face mask, lowered it, and uttered, Team Whirlpool reporting for the Chunin exams. Trinity shook her head and put her hand to her face, saying, smooth my prince, you just floored a Junin. Pulling his mask back up, Naruto remarked, considering his actions could have been considered an act of war, one say he got off easy. So I see you have returned, Naruto, said the third. Yes, let me introduce my team. This is Trinity, Haku, and Zabuza, Naruto said, nodding. With a scowl, the third said, Zabuza Momochi, I thought you died. Zabuza grinned and said, I did. Standing up, Kakashi uttered the words, and you, I put a Chidori through your heart. According to Haku, yeah, and it hurts like hell. Okay, Naruto, how exactly are 2 dead shinobi alive here? Asked the third. Excusing himself, Naruto said, sorry, secret of the royal family of Whirlpool. After scowling and beginning to speak, Kakashi was cut off by Naruto, who said, so what do we need to do to get register? We had a long trip back and a little tired. Right, your apartment has been, said the third. Naruto stated, we will find our own place to stay then. My so-called apartment wasn't big enough for 2 people, so 4 won't be able to fit. I see, then please take these forms and go to room 301 tomorrow at noon, the third said with a frown. Forming an ice mirror, Naruto took the forms, passed them to his teammates, stepped in, and vanished. Haku followed suit. Trinity vanished in a whirlpool of black flames, and Zabuza vanished in a whirlpool of water. I want you to follow them and try to find out what happened to Naruto to change him so much. Also try and find out how 2 deceased people are back in the land of the living. I want answers, the third said, scowling as he looked at everyone's faces in his office after they had left. In a whirl of leaves, Kakashi nods while still holding his stomach. In the office, Iruka wondered, what has happened to you, Naruto? As he and his group approached a hotel, Naruto paused and asked, so do you think they fell for it? Yes, replied Trinity. Kakashi is already following us. As he approached the Green Leaf Hotel, Naruto nodded and remarked, good, we have to warn Konoha about it. Kakashi saw them enter the hotel after following rooftops. After waiting for a short while, he watched Zabuza emerge onto a balcony before returning inside. When he felt a kunai on his neck, Kakashi leapt to the location of the balcony, placed his back against the wall, and channeled chakra to his ears. He turned to see Zabuza standing there, and he pulled the kunai away, saying, come inside, we need to talk. After following Zabuza inside, where he saw Naruto, Haku, and Trinity seated, Kakashi scowls and asks, so how did you get the drop on me? Naruto stated, I was hanged into Zabuza and he hanged into a kunai that I dropped on the balcony. We knew you would be sent to follow us, having faced most of us before, so we needed a way to talk to you out of the Hokage office. With a frown, Kakashi questioned, why? War, said Naruto. Raising an eyebrow, Kakashi questioned, what do you mean? Sighing, Naruto uttered, Trinity if you would. Trinity responds by saying, once we heard about the organization known as Akatsuki were going to be coming after the prince here. His Majesty sent out spies to each of the villages looking for information. While they did not find much on that group, they did find a threat that could harm the prince. It looks as if Orochimaru is planning an attack on the Leaf Village during the Chunin exams with the aid of Suna. With wide eyes, Kakashi questioned, so why not tell the Hokage? Naruto stated, we can't. Orochimaru has several spies in the village, including an entire genin team. We don't know who, but since most of the teams were there, odds are that one of the sensei that was there works for Orochimaru. We made it look like I still hate your guts, so that way perhaps Orochimaru will come to us offering me a chance for revenge so we can get more info. I see, Kakashi said, frowning, was that the only reason you punched me? Naruto replied, no, killing my fiancé, abandoning me and being an ass was a good reason for me to punch you. To do it for a responsible reason was a bonus, smiled. With a sigh, Kakashi uttered, look Naruto, Naruto raised his hand and said, "It's over, Kakashi. You didn't give a shit about me back then, so forget it. I am not the same idiot I was back then, and I don't take anyone's shit. Those who abandon their teammates are worse than trash. I guess hoping your teammate gets killed from neglect falls into that category. I wonder if Sakura is still alive or if your favoritism has gotten her killed. I sure hope you got your favorite student ready for the exams, because if I face him, his life in this village is over. Tell him I know the Uchiha clan secret and I will reveal it to everyone. When I do, this village will turn on him like they did me. Now I grow tired of you, so please leave," with an authoritative tone. With a scowl, Kakashi departed in a flurry of foliage. "Do you feel better now?" Haku asked, glancing at Naruto. According to Naruto, actually, yes. After shaking his head, Zabuza remarked, "Well, you basically just busted his balls." Naruto nodded and continued, "You already saw what he was like to me, so I know you understand. I know it's not very royal of me to act like that, but every time I see his face I remember him telling me he couldn't teach me anything because he did not want to overpower the team, and when I asked why Sasuke got special treatment he looked at me like I was stupid." "Naruto-sama, remember your promise," said Trinity with a frown. Naruto looks at him and says, "I know, I will give them a clean slate after the finals, but until then hee." When the third Hokage saw Kakashi in his office, he arched an eyebrow and remarked, "That was fast." Following that, Kakashi informed the third, who responded, "Very well, I trust you not to tell anyone else and I will deal with this information. Thank you for bringing it to me. This is bad. With the trouble with Whirlpool and Orochimaru showing up, I need to have Enbu keep an eye on the Whirlpool team for their safety," Kakashi says after nodding and leaving. The guards questioned Naruto and his group as they stood outside the Hyuga clan compound the following day, saying, "What are you doing here? Foreign shinobi are not allowed inside the Hyuga clan compound." Naruto came forward and said, "Please tell Hiyashi-san that the Prince of Whirlpool and his party would like to have a talk with the entire Hyuga clan about a possible alliance with Whirlpool. Turning us away will result in the secret of the Hyuga bloodline becoming public knowledge, and meeting any less than the entire main and branch family will end with the same result. We will wait here for his answer," as he and his group approached a tree that was leaning against them. This caused the two guards to go pale, and one of them nodded while the other fled inside. After a half hour or so, Hiyashi said, "What proof do you have that you have the secret to our clan?" as he left. Says Naruto. "Trinity, would you?" As veins protruded from her head and her eyes went white, Trinity said, "Yes, Naruto-sama." Byakugan. With wide eyes, Hiyashi questioned, "How does she have our bloodline?" Naruto stated, "I gave it to her 30 days ago and I can give it to anyone and everyone I chose, just like I can give basically any bloodline I chose. I came here to offer terms of an alliance with Whirlpool and to save your clan's reputation on the day of the finals. On that day the Uchiha clan reputation will be completely destroyed, and your clans also, should we not come to an agreement. After all, your clan did help hide the truth of the Uchiha massacre. What would happen if everyone in all the elemental countries learned of this?" With a frown, Hiyashi remarked, "Very well, it will take some time to get all the branch and main members." Naruto replied, "You have until the time my team and I have to be at the exams. Should we miss the exams, then all details will become public knowledge." With a nod, Hiyashi said, "Come back in an hour." Naruto replied, "Of course, and don't plan a trap. The entire population of Whirlpool has this info and knows of my plans here today, and should something happen to me or my team, that info will be sent to every country, as well as giving them each your bloodline. Let's go," as he headed out with his teammates. "What are we to do? If what he says he knows and will happen is true, it could destroy our clan," the Hyuga clan elders said as Hiyashi entered the building again. Hiyashi sighed. "We have no choice. We have to meet him and agree to what he requests. How he learned of the truth is troubling, since I was under the impression only we knew. I just hope he's bluffing on that, or it will destroy our clan. Assemble all members immediately." Once Naruto and his group reached the Hyuga compound once more an hour later, the guards declared, "We are ordered to escort you, Naruto-sama, along with your companions." "Hold," Naruto said. Halting both guards, an individual guard inquired, "What's wrong, Naruto-sama?" Naruto replied, "Who is the current head of the branch family?" With a frown, the guard said, "Hyuga Nima." With a nod, Naruto says, "Thank you, let's move forward." They were shown to a large, open space in the Hyuga compound's central garden. As soon as they entered, as Naruto looked around, he noticed both the main members and all of the branch members. When Naruto noticed Hinata sitting next to Hanabi and her father standing, he said, "Thank you for agreeing to meet me on such short notice, Hyuga-san." Hiyashi commented, "You really did not give us much of a choice." Naruto nods and responds, "I know now you are wondering why I am here to begin with, friending your clan as I have. You must understand, no matter what happens here today, the Uchiha family name will be completely destroyed the day of the finals. I am sick with the way this village has treated Sasuke like he was a king. Now what this has to do with you is simple. The day before the finals, in every country besides the Fire Country, a book will be delivered to every single house in every village detailing the complete truth of the Uchiha massacre, stating that the reason Itachi killed his clan was because his father ordered Shisho Uchiha to kill his fiancée and unborn child. This caused many Hyuga to go wide-eyed. The Uchiha clan head did this because he could not let the truth that Naruto went on to say. Wait, we already know why he did it, an elder said. Naruto was saying, be silent and do not interrupt me again, or I will not give the edited book to the countries that I was planning on doing. Instead I will have the one that gives all the proof of your clan's involvement in your clan's truth of your bloodline as well. It will be told here today to be kept secret between my country and your entire clan, or it will become public knowledge for all your choice. Now does everyone understand? Now, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, the truth is that no male Uchiha can pass on their bloodline to an unborn child just like your clan. The bloodline can only be passed on by the females. That is the secret you, the main branch, have hidden from the branch family all these years, and why no females are ever allowed on the council or as clan head, Naruto said after waiting for a few moments as the main branch elders realized they had no chance anymore. But my sister or I will be, Hanabi remarked. As he unleashed some ki, making everyone freeze, Naruto yelled, be silent. Once everyone had settled down, Naruto stated, the elders would never allow you or your sister to become clan head. They would marry you off or put you in the branch family as they have done all 6 times in the past. Your clan has only had female clan heirs. Yes, I know your clan secret very well since my family has recorded the history of the world since before the Great Demon Wars. We only have an hour before we must leave, Haku whispered, placing a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Nodding, Naruto continued, now as I was saying, when I destroy the Uchiha reputation, I want the Hyuga clan to become the strongest clan in Konoha in name and prestige, and I plan to aid you with this. In exchange for my aid, the Hyuga clan and the new clan that will start in Konoha will both be allied with Whirlpool country, and you will earn not only our silence but also will be 1/4 of our vote on the council here in the village, meaning that your clan can gain enough support to get what you want the most. Head of the council. When Hiyashi raised his hand to ask for permission to speak, all of the clan members widened their eyes, and Naruto replied, yes, Hiyashi. Hiyashi responded, what new clan and what do you want exactly from us in exchange for our clan agreeing with you? Naruto replied, ah yes, that is simple. I want several but simple things. I want first the cage bird seal removed from all branch members as well as never putting them on any more members or any other seal. Second, I want your clan to unite as one family. Third, I want 22 volunteers of childbearing years, 11 males and 11 females to form the new clan which I will change their bloodline to that of the Sharingan like my family originally did, giving it back to the village, but no, they will not be the Uchiha clan. They will make their own names and rules, but they will gain 1/4 of the Whirlpool vote on the council like you, will be allied with your clan and Whirlpool but will be their own separate clan. The fourth thing I want is 1 male and 1 female from the new clan and the Hyuga clan to go to Whirlpool country to live for the rest of their lives. When Hiyashi held up his hand once more, Naruto said, go ahead. Why? Hiyashi inquired. Many people's eyes widened when Naruto stated, as I have informed the Hokage, the village of Konoha is going to be attacked after the exams by Orochimaru and his new village as well as that of Suna. Naruto went on to say, that does not get told to anyone in the village or the council. There are spies in the village amongst our people who work for Orochimaru and we don't know who they are. Just that they are here and at least one genin team in the exam is with them now. As for your question, in case both clans are destroyed by war or another Uchiha massacre, I do not want the headache of recreating the bloodlines again, so should they be destroyed they can be bred back by the ones who will live freely as citizens of Whirlpool. Now the fifth and last thing I want is protection. With everyone looking perplexed, Hiyashi questioned, protection for what and from what? My family and I will be in danger while here because, as Naruto stated, as most of you know, I am not liked in this village because my father, the 4th Hokage, sealed the Kyuubi in me. Additionally, an organization called Akatsuki will soon begin hunting me down in order to kill me and remove the Kyuubi so they can turn it into a weapon, and they may attempt to use my friends and family against me. I want them exposed to the Hokage and council and dealt with. I don't know or care how it's done, but that man has wanted to use me as a weapon since the day I was born, and he would want any children either of my wives would have as well. So they must be taken care of. Danzo and his root are the last known threat to me and my family. Yes, I am aware that root has been disbanded, but that is a lie, they're just hidden. In exchange for your clan agreeing to all my terms, you're getting the support to become head of the council, solving the rising problem between both houses, giving your clan a good reputation by telling everyone how you volunteered some of your members to restart the Sharingan in the village, gaining favor with the other clans of Konoha by exposing an internal threat, as well as strengthening the bond between the village of Whirlpool and Konoha, and as well as securing your clan's bloodline secret. Now you have between now and the day the second part of the exam is over to decide what you wish to do. You can either agree and gain all that or become the black sheep of the world, and now that the branch family knows the truth, the woman can just juke and their ovaries if you refuse to free their family and them from the cage seal and never put any seal on any of them again, and possible thrown out of the village. It's your choice, but me and my team must be leaving now. I wish you all a good day and thank you for your time. Good luck, Hinata, Neji. See you both in the exams, let's go. As he stood up and his team followed him out. The elders asked, what should we do? After they had left. Hiyashi responded, we have no choice, Neji, Hinata, both of you have to get to the test, so you may go. Both had a lot on their minds as they departed. Neji saw Lee and Tenten at his team's training ground. When he got there, Lee looked at Neji and said, is something wrong, my eternal rival? You seem deep in thought? Blinking, Neji replied, yes, everything is fine. With a, really? Tenten said, yes, now let's go, Neji said with a frown. As she headed toward the academy, Tenten remarked, okay, let's go, I can't wait to see Naruto and Haku again. Wait, Neji said, how do you know Naruto-sama? Tenten turned around and asked, why is his fiancé my best friend? Nothing, Neji said. Let's go, he said as he began to move. Tenten grinned and thought, so I was right, Neji didn't give a damn about Naruto or Haku until today, but he reacted right away when I brought them up. Since Naruto has returned as Haku promised, he must have already visited the Hyuga clan. As she accelerated behind her teammates, she pondered whether he had fulfilled his word in her letters. As Hinata was making her way to her team's training grounds across the village, Kurenai, Shino, and Kiba were present. Is everything alright, Hinata? You usually arrive first? Kurenai asked as she approached. Can I talk to you a moment in private, sensei? Hinata asked, looking up and stuttering. Hinata and she leave the boys after Kurenai nods. What's wrong with Hinata today? Kiba asked Shino. Shino looked at the two women and said, I do not know, perhaps nervous about the exam. Kurenai asked, what's wrong, Hinata? After glancing at her. Naruto-kun said it was true, he has the Kyuubi in him, Hinata stammered. After blinking, Kurenai remarked, and, you known about this for several months. But the elders told us not to believe what we were told because it upset most of the younger Hyugas, so I thought it was a lie, Hinata stammered. I'm afraid of him. Could you repeat that, Hinata? I didn't understand, Kurenai said, sighing as she gazed up at the sky and thought, I thought I had worked on her on this, but I guess not. Wait, what's she saying? After inhaling deeply, Hinata stammered, today, Naruto entered our clan house and made everyone agree with him. The Naruto-kun I fell in love with is not the same as him. He now resembles his father and the elders. So that's why she's scared. Kurenai scowled, and he must have taken his royal responsibilities very seriously because now she is unsure of what to think. Hinata, let me ask you something. Was anything Naruto made your clan agree to bad for your clan? He said. Hinata replied, no, he made them agree to get rid of the seal on the branch members and unite the family. Damn, he's been busy to get them agree to that, Kurenai thought. Blinking, he said, but isn't that what you wanted for your cousin Neji? And, I wonder what he gave them. Yes, Hinata replied. According to Kurenai, then Naruto helped you complete your goal. You should be happy your crush did that. Was there anything else? Stuttering, Hinata said, yes, but I don't think I should talk about it. Kurenai asked, well, is any of it bad for your clan? With a sigh. No, but, said Hinata. Then don't worry about it, Kurenai said. Whatever your clan decided upon will undoubtedly benefit them. Regarding the Kyuubi, may I ask you a question? Do you believe that Shino is a bug? No, Hinata replied. Kurenai remarked, don't worry about it. The Kyuubi is inside Naruto and he controls it similarly to how Shino controls his bugs. Are you prepared for your test now? After giving it some thought, Hinata replied, yes. Kurenai replied, good, then you should get going, don't want to be late. So are you ready, Hinata? Kiba asked after Hinata nodded and turned to face her teammates. In a quiet voice, Hinata replied, yes. As they began their journey to the academy, Kiba said, good, then let's go. Zabuza questioned, so what do you think, kid? As Naruto and his team were traveling to the academy. According to Naruto, I think they will agree to it. This is for the best, even though I don't like it, Trinity said. because the Dragon Knights can't adequately protect you here at all times. Additionally, it might be beneficial to give the impression that we are stronger than we actually are. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, I understand, but it's a risk. If they had discovered that you actually possess Dragon Sniper Eye rather than Byakugan, they wouldn't have been so receptive to our suggestions. Yes, we can make them see with the eyes of the Sharingan because it's a straightforward alteration, but we can't give it to a normal person or give it to a normal person either. That's why it's called a bluff, Haku stated, and since your family has only ever altered 3 bloodlines aside from the ones between the dragons and the Kitsunisa, the fact that you stated that you could do it to any bloodline should make them even more quiet. Zabuza said only the Sharingan remains of those 3. I know, but it was a necessary lie, Naruto remarked. We should switch topics, though, because the academy is coming up soon, and I believe the form instructed you to visit the Junin Lounge in Zabuza. Zabuza said, alright Gaki, I will see you all later, and he departed in a whirlpool of water. Alright, remember the plan, Naruto said. How can we forget your classic plan for our team, Naruto-sama? Said Trinity with a snort. Enter, kick ass, take names, frighten people, and win everything before we leave, leaving everyone in the dark. So what do you think of my plan, Hime? Asked Naruto. Haku replied, just remember the exception to the rule is change. You have kept your word and freed her teammate from his seal with this deal. With a sigh, Naruto remarked, you sure about this? Yes, she is my best friend, and I want her to be a part of our family, Haku said. Nodding, I believe that she would be respected by both dragons and kitsunes. With a nod, Naruto said, yes, Hime. When they reached the 2nd floor of the academy, they noticed that multiple teams had assembled outside of room 301. Trinity whispered, isn't this the 2nd floor? According to Haku, Genjutsu. Yeah, room 201, let's get to the right door, Naruto said as he began to lead the way to the stairs after channeling chakra into his eyes, which turned slitted. Naruto was shivered by a voice that said, you can drop the Genjutsu. As he continued to walk with both of his teammates, Naruto shook his head and muttered, idiot, he never turned around. Looks like your favorite student just made an idiot out of himself by pointing out the Genjutsu to everyone on the 2nd floor. Naruto remarked as they arrived at the 3rd floor and saw Kakashi standing outside door 301 as he passed him with his team. He said, I hope you taught him to fight better than to keep his mouth shut. That was not nice but funny, Naruto-kun, Haku remarked with a giggle. Trinity let out a sigh. I say you should just have the Dragon Knights to come in and level the village and be done with these petty games, your highness. As they entered and noticed multiple teams staring at them, Naruto sighed and remarked, I know, but I have a few people here who do really care for me and I don't want to see them hurt. When all 3 sensed that ki was aimed at them, Trinity snapped her neck and uttered the words, may I, your majesty. As Naruto put it, go ahead. With a smile, Trinity said, thank you, sir. She then used ki to blast everyone, causing most of the others to freeze and several genins to faint. Yes, that was fun, she said, grinning as she smelled a few people's urine. Dragons don't like people who try to intimidate us, which is why we like the kitsunes so much. We respect the kitsunes, and they respect us. She retreated behind Naruto, next to Haku, and remarked, thank you again, Naruto-sama. Everyone else is trash. Naruto replied, no problem, Trinity, now let's move out of the way for the others to come in. Kiba grabbed his nose and exclaimed, what the hell is that smell? As Team 8 entered, everyone seems to have shit and urinated on themselves. Akamaru agreed and barked immediately after Team 10 entered. Shikamaru surveyed the room and remarked, troublesome. He reasoned that someone must have scared everyone, but who? When the door opened again, Team 9 entered. Neji glanced around the room, saw Hinata and then Naruto, and bowed partially toward them. Tenten then walked over and said, how's it going, Haku? While giving Haku a hug. I'm great, change, Haku said. Observe, she said, biting her thumb and displaying blood on the floor. Thank you so much for doing this for her, Naruto-sama. Tenten bowed as she turned to face Naruto. Tenten, you are my fiancé's friend here, so you don't need to use honorifics to address me, Naruto said. I'm just Naruto, okay? Haku, may I speak with you for a moment? Tenten said. Trinity asks, so is that the other one? As Haku nods and they both move to the side. Yes, said Naruto, if she accepts Haku's proposal. Trinity smiles and responds, very well, I can smell she is pure and also I can see she has a clean soul and is trustworthy. I figured that since Haku is a good judge in character, Naruto remarked. Whoa, this is Team 7. When Sakura and a boy with black hair who resembled Sasuke entered the room, Sakura asked, why was Kakashi-sensei so mad at you, Sasuke, about telling everyone about the Genjutsu? The boy with black hair replied, because Dickless let so many teams who would have lost back there through the competition flatchest. When Sakura yelled, "Shut up, Sai," at that moment, there was a shout of, "Sasuke-kun." Ino attempted to grab Sasuke, but he moved aside. As Sakura put it, "Leave Sasuke-kun along, Ino pig." Kiba, who had not yet seen Naruto, remarked, "Looks like most of the gang is here except for Dead Last. You're all too troublesome and Naruto is here. He's with the team over there in the corner everyone's avoiding." Shikamaru pointed to the Naruto team, who were staring at them with the exception of Haku and Tenten, who were whispering a few feet away. "You all should be quiet," said a gray-haired boy wearing glasses, adding that many teams dislike being tampered with the Whirlpool team over there. In particular, the reason the room is currently smelling is because they forced multiple teams to flee in terror. Has Naruto changed that much to scare people just by being in a room with them? Sakura asked herself as she gazed at the Naruto team. "Who are you to tell us what to do?" inquired Ino. The kid replied, "Oh sorry, my name is Kabuto and I am a veteran in these exams." Kiba replied, "So you've taken these exams more than once?" Kabuto stated, "This is my 7th time in 4 years, 2 times a year, and I have collected a lot of information about the other teams." Sasuke replied, "You have any information on the Whirlpool team?" Haku stiffened and muttered, "I think we may have just found our spy team I was telling you about. Let me hear what Kabuto says while you act like you're saying something with your lips." Trinity and Naruto both narrowed their eyes. After Tenten nods, Kabuto pulls out 3 cards and says, "I don't have much on them, but I do have this." The first card is Naruto, who he describes as the princess of Whirlpool country and the son of the 4th Hokage. It appears that he is next in line to be thrown. He is also Kyuubi no Kitsune's Jinchuriki. He has finished 2 A-rank missions and 27 D-rank missions. It also claimed that he had killed an S-rank missing nin of Iwa and apprehended a traitor to Konoha. It claims that he is skilled in both Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu, with 2 notable ninjutsu techniques being Kuchiyose no Jutsu, another Junin-level technique, and Kagebunshin no Jutsu. Additionally, he seems to be able to use ice. Wait, he can summon, what? Kiba asked. According to Kabuto, it says he has the Toad contract and is able to summon the boss Toad multiple times by witnesses' accounts. As the Genins stared in disbelief at Naruto, Kabuto produced a second card and said, "Alright, next up is Haku Momochi, Naruto's fiancé copyrightee and the adopted daughter of Zabuza Momochi. According to this, she has a high Chunin level speed, an ice bloodline limit, and medical skills that include the use of pressure points. Additionally, it claims that she was hit by the Chidori, an A-rank assassination jutsu developed by Hitaki Kakashi, and that she supposedly died, but that isn't possible given her presence here." Sasuke replied, "No, it's true, she died on that mission, but somehow the Dobi brought her and Zabuza back to life from what Kakashi told us. That sounds like a forbidden jutsu to have been used to bring the dead back," Kabuto remarked with a frown. "No, Haku and Zabuza both faked their deaths in wave with blood clones and then I met up with them later having worked out an agreement with them," Naruto snorted, making his words loud enough for everyone to hear. Kabuto replied, "I suppose that's possible but could be counted as conspiring with missing nins." Naruto replied, "Sorry buddy, but both are no longer missing nins. One is an officially recognized guard of the royal family of Whirlpool, and as for my fiancée, she never was a ninja of any country, so that won't work." Sakura questioned, "What about the third teammate?" as Kabuto nodded. Kabuto took out a card and wrote, "Trinity Draguna, personal bodyguard of Haku, and her skills are all unknown with the exception of Kenjutsu and the ability to use black flames." "Hey," said Naruto, "do you have your own information on the cards?" According to Kabuto, "No, why would I? What about the Jinchuriki over there with the red hair and the gourd on his back?" Naruto asked, nodding. Kabuto tensed up and uttered the words, "Gaara of the desert." Kiba replied, "Wait, how do you know that this Gaara's a Jinchuriki?" "He's in the bingo book," Naruto remarked. "The only thing I have on him is that he's completed 14 A-rank missions, 24 B-rank missions, 36 C-rank missions, and has come back from every mission without a scratch," Kabuto said as many of the Genins turned to look at Gaara. His older brother and sister are teammates. Naruto nods as he hunches over and, "Haku, Kabuto's the spy. The other A-rank mission he referred to is when I was tricked by Mizuki. That mission was classified by the Hokage and only him, and I knew that I received pay for it or it was detailed as a mission." Naruto said Kabuto is the spy. He has info on Naruto that only the Hokage and Naruto knew. Haku mutteringly scowls. Tenten said, "I will inform my team," with a frown. At that moment, a number of smoke puffs exploded, a number of people emerged, and a voice said, "All right, kids, welcome to hell. Ha 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 ha. As the man in the trench coat said, now, I want you all to pull a number from this box and then sit there. Naruto turned to face the room. I will then go over the test in detail. It's showtime. Any game plan you have, Naruto thought as he glanced at Haku. I would guess a written test. Haku thought my area of expertise. Then I thought, Trinity. Naruto-kun is going to follow my lead on this part. Written tests are his weak spot. Just sit back until I figure it out. Yes, princess, I am ready for anything, Trinity thought. They started to line up for seats after Haku nodded. Haku was seated by Kiba, Trinity by Tamari, and Naruto by Ino when everyone drew their numbers. All right, said the man in the trench coat. Ibiki Morino is the head of interrogation and torture. This exam is being proctored by me. All of the men in the room are trained to keep an eye out for any indications of infidelity, and they will be able to spot it. I'll now go over the rules. The first rule is that no one should fight. I am the law here, which is the second rule. The third rule states that you begin with 10 points. You will lose 2 points if you are caught cheating. You and your team fail. If you reach 0, you fail. If your teammates reach 0. This test now consists of 9 questions after 45 minutes. The 10th question will be posed. Is everyone ready now? If not, too bad. Start. Naruto and Haku both glanced at the paper, and Haku said, no fucking way. With a blink, Haku asked himself, what? I know this test and these answers. Naruto grinned. I've already taken it. Looking up, Haku asked himself, how? Naruto thought, this test was given to me by an Anbu who taught me stealth and watched me when I was younger. Before I went to the academy, he wanted to make sure I was prepared. Additionally, he informed me of the 10th question, which was a do or not question. He asked me if I would still accept a mission that could save the village if I knew I would die on it. He smirked as he placed his feet up on the desk, put his hands behind his head, and snatched up his test, rolled it into a ball, and threw it at Ibiki. I passed. What are you doing? Ibiki inquired. I understand your game, Naruto said. The test is fraudulent. After Ibiki blinked and everyone turned to stare at Naruto, Ibiki questioned, what makes you say that? Naruto remarked, I've encountered the last question before, so I know what it is. You can choose whether or not to accept it. Ibiki replied, perhaps, perhaps not, but why tell everyone what you believe? Because no one will believe me. Naruto stated all of the Konoha ninja will believe that I am just the dumb little dead last from the academy. And all of the ninja from other villages will believe that I am either trying to fool them or am an idiot. My teammates are the only ones who need to worry about it. And we all have faith in one another without ever writing an answer. I will pass your test. I have that option. Ibiki replied, we will see. Now everyone else finish your test. You know, for some reason that reminds me of Icha Icha Paradise Volume 9. The hero's word, Haku thought as Naruto closed his eyes and sighed. Perhaps some of it was, but the majority was mine. Naruto thought. I believe Trinity is prepared to murder me. Haku thought, what's wrong, Trinity? As he gazed at her. His small action just made the girl next to me and a few others go into heat. Trinity thought the smell of it is enough for me. Then stop channeling chakra into your nose, Haku thought. Blushing. I understand that you are concerned about potential threats to us, but you can relax a little. Thank you, princess. Trinity reflected. As your guard, I am unable to unwind in hostile territory unless authorized. You must be aware of the danger and take precautions because you granted me permission. Trinity, you are aware that neither Narukan nor I enjoy preferential treatment. Haku sighed. You don't have to change to fit in with us, even though I know you and the others feel obligated to do so. But you're the wrong princess, Trinity thought. You see, we don't do it out of obligation. Rather, we do it because we care about you and Naruto-sama, because you both treat us equally and go above and beyond to assist everyone in our kingdom. You both go above and beyond to assist our people, dragons and kitsune alike. If you see someone in need of assistance with carrying things, training, cooking, or even pushing kids in swings, we value the fact that you and he both came from places far from Whirlpool, led similar lives, and yet came out so pure, which is why we are prepared to die in order to keep you both safe. I hope you get it. Haku pondered. I understand, but promise me, if something is bothering you, no matter what it is, you will come to me. Trinity pondered. Your Majesty. Yes, now unwind. Nothing will harm us at this time, so just settle in. The wait will be lengthy. Well, it's time for the last question, Ibiki said, surveying the classroom. After 45 minutes it appears that the child was correct, as everyone but the Whirlpool team disregarded what he had to say. He responds with a nod. All right, brats, it's time for the final question, but before I give it there are some more rules. As Naruto continued to lean with his hands behind his desk and his feet on the desk, he took out a deck of cards and began to shuffle them. Ibiki turned to face him and asked, do you mind? No, go ahead, you're not bothering me, Naruto said. A number of people chuckled at this point, and Ibiki responded, "Okay, smartass, don't interrupt me again or I'll disqualify your team as I mentioned earlier. There are additional rules. You must first choose whether or not to answer the final question. You and your team must depart right away if you decide not to accept it, but if you do and fail, you will be a genin for eternity." "But that's not fair," Kiba said. "Some people are taking the test now after taking it multiple times in the past. They were fortunate that I was never their examiner." Ibiki remarked, "Keep in mind my second rule here. I am the law." He let loose some ki and said, "Shut up and choose. I can have you all fail and go home right now." When a number of people stood up and departed, Ibiki questioned, "Is that everyone?" When he noticed a hand raised, he asked, "Do you want to quit?" After receiving a nod, he said, "Okay, you and your teammates can go." Looking at the individual who held up her hand, Naruto pondered, "I wonder why you quit, Hinata." Kiba questioned Hinata, "Why did you quit?" after Team 8 had departed. As she ran down the hall, Hinata stammered, "Not here, please follow me." "All right, for everyone who's left except for Whirlpool, you pass," Ibiki said as he returned to the room. Snorting, Naruto said, "Told you. You were right about the last question, but before I let you pass, I want to know something about you and your team," Ibiki said, giving him a fierce look. "What do you want to know?" asked Naruto. Ibiki inquired, "Why did you not try the paper test and purposely try to make more teams pass?" "Simply put, there are 3 reasons why I didn't complete the paper test," Naruto stated. "I know what your test was because, one day before I entered the academy, an Anbu with guard duty was talking to me about being a ninja and he gave me the exact same test you did. First, why should I reveal my country's information gathering skills in front of a room full of hostile shinobi? Secondly, no one would believe me, and some of them who would have believed that what I said was the real test would have talked themselves out of it and made themselves wrong when they were right." He asked me if I would still accept a mission in which I knew I would die but it could save the village after I passed. He taught me how to be stealthy, which saved my life multiple times, and he suggested to the Hokage that I be allowed to begin at the academy. Ibiki replied, "Who was the Anbu if you don't mind me asking?" In Naruto's words, "Weasel." Ibiki said, "Very well, I believe your answers and reasoning and you're right. You should not use your information gathering skills in this room if you can keep from it to hide your true skills and prevent people from stopping your abilities." Sasuke gazed at Naruto with wide eyes, as did several other Konoha Chunin. "I also pass your team." Temari responded, "Wait, if he was right then why did we even have the paper test?" Ibiki stated, "The purpose of that test was to eliminate individuals who were deemed unfit to pass it. Information is power in our careers." Kanai struck the ceiling as a ball of black cloth entered the window, and when Anko emerged, her black cloth was engulfed in black flames. Trinity said, "Sorry, I thought you were a threat for a moment, not a hooker," as everyone started to perspire. When Anko fell in an anime fashion, everyone started laughing. Ibiki remarked, "That was almost worth you coming early, Anko." "All right, guys, I'm Anko, your second proctor," Anko said, getting to his feet and glaring at Trinity. She snatched up her kunais and said, "Meet me at training ground 44 in an hour." "I apologize to Naruto-sama," Trinity said. "I had no idea that these tests included seduction. If I'm not sufficiently qualified, I hope I don't damage your reputation." "Think nothing of it, Trinity," Naruto said, waving his hand. "I think your first guess might have been correct, but I'm sure Haku and I can handle seducing people if that's the next test. When I was younger, I believe I saw her in the red light district as Trinity departed in a whirlpool of black flames. An ice mirror formed beneath him and another beneath Haku, and both fell into them. I suppose we can go." When Anko glared at where Naruto and his team had been moments earlier, Ibiki laughed at him. He then snatched up the paper test that Naruto had rolled up and opened to see if he had actually passed with a blank test. Then he scowled and said, "Anko, come look at this." After blinking and glancing at Ibiki, Anko went to read and asked, "What should we do?" Ibiki replied, "I will inform the Hokage. Do not do anything to blow this." As she leapt out the window, Anko remarked, "All right, I can wait a little longer to get the snake." When Ibiki arrived at the Hokage office after leaving in a flurry of leaves, the third person asked, "So, how was the first test?" Ibiki gave the Hokage the test and remarked, "Funny, but look at this." "Who else knows of this?" the third person asked after seeing it. As Ibiki put it, "Just Anko. Make sure no one else does," the third said. "Tell her to leave them alone for the time being as well." The third thought is, "So you already figured out who the Genin team is, huh?" Ibiki nods and disappears into a whirl of leaves. Kabuto aired by disclosing Naruto's statistics. "All I have to do now is find out how he obtained my confidential Anbu records." "Alright, Gakis, as I mentioned, I am Anko, your second proctor, and this is training ground 44. The Forest of Death, this is where your next exam will be. Anko arrived at the Forest of Death after meeting Ibiki en route. He looked at all the genins and thought, well, this will be interesting. I would like to take that Kabuto kid and introduce him to Ibiki, but the kid's plan is good also and might give me a chance to get the snake bastard himself. She noticed that everyone was paying attention and she raised 2 scrolls and said, alright kiddies, I have here 2 scrolls, a heaven and an earth scroll. Each team will receive one or the other. You will have to go into the forest and make it to the tower with both scrolls. How you get the other scroll is your problem, but you must have a matching set. You also have a time limit of 5 days to make it to the tower. If you make it there without your full team alive, you fail. Open the scrolls before you get in the tower and you fail. If you don't make it before the time limit is up, you fail. If you don't have both scrolls when you enter the tower, you fail. Any questions? Naruto replied, yes. When is the part where we have to use what you're wearing in this part of the exams? After placing the scrolls in her weapon pouch, Anko swiftly withdrew a kunai and hurled it at Naruto, trying to cut his cheek. When Anko tried to cut Naruto's cheek after he shifted his head slightly to the side, he turned into water and the water gathered into a ball around her. Naruto then stood behind her and uttered the words, now you're prisoner, do I pass? As she turned into mud, Anko snarled and remarked, not bad Gaki. Naruto then turned, removing his sword from behind him, and blocked the 3 kunais that were approaching from behind. Then Anko showed up and said, enough, you're good Gaki, I will give you that. Anko said, all right, your entire team must sign these and turn them in over there at that booth in order to receive a scroll, as Naruto grinned and nodded. Then Ino said, what are those? Anko stated, permission slips, so if and when you die in there, Konoha is not responsible for your deaths. Kiba and Shino both caught up to Hinata, who was crying, on the Team 8 training ground across town. Kiba asked in a worried tone, what's wrong, Hinata? Hinata replied, the exams don't matter, we're going to be attacked soon. What are you talking about? Inquired both of her teammates. Hinata stated, earlier today Naruto and his team came to my clan compound and made a deal. They informed my clan that Konoha is going to be attacked during the exams by Suna and Orochimaru hidden village. I think they are going to try and attack our teams during the test to weaken us, and I think they are going to try and kidnap me again. So that's what's wrong. You're worried that you will be captured again like you were as a child, Kiba said, his eyes softening. Hinata replied, yes, especially with those cloud nins in the exam. Kiba scowled as he noticed 2 cloud genin on either side of Hinata and thought back to the exam room. It's okay. Hinata, I understand why you were scared. The thought of war and having those 2 ninja by your side brought back bad memories, huh, he said, turning to face Shino, who nodded in agreement. Kurenai then came out and said, what happened? I just got word you guys failed the first test. Hinata, who was crying and in a panic, could only nod. It's my fault, sensei. I got scared, Kiba said. Alright, Kiba, you and Shino, go ahead and take the rest of the day off. I'm going to calm Hinata down and I will talk to you later. Now go, Kurenai said, glancing at him and realizing what he was doing when he saw Hinata crying. After Kiba and Shino departed, Kurenai embraced Hinata and inquired, what's wrong, Hinata? At that moment, Hinata started crying even harder, and Kurenai held the girl while she continued to sob. Shino and Kiba returned, and Kiba questioned, what should we do? Shino stated, inform our families about what Hinata said about war, but other than that nothing. Kiba took a breath and replied, it was just bad luck. She got put between the 2 cloud nins. I wonder what deal Naruto made with the Hyuga to tell them that. Both boys turned to see Ibiki standing there when a voice said, that would be classified. Kiba then asked, what do you want? Ibiki dropped to the ground and said quietly, I had some Enbu following you and everyone else who left the test room to make sure you did not ruin the test or try and help another team, and they heard what the girl said and informed me. I came to tell you both. The Hokage already has this information, but it's being kept secret because we have spies in our own ranks helping the enemy from what we have been informed. Only the most trusted Anbu and Junins right now know of this, since there may even be a spy on the civilian council as well, which is why we have not informed the clans yet. You are both to keep this quiet until the Hokage informs them. If you reveal it, I will put you in prison and forget you're there until you die. Do I make myself clear? As Ibiki said, good. Now if you want to get ready, train and prepare. We don't know when the actual attack will be, but we know it will be sometime in the next month and a half. As he departed with Leaf Shushin after both boys paled and nodded and Akamaru whimpered. As they collapsed on the ground from the ki they had sensed, both boys turned pale, and Kiba remarked, he's scary. It's okay. Hinata, I understand it's not easy to have to face your fears like that, and also the thought of war is scary. Kurenai sighed after listening to Hinata explain her fears. I had already been informed by the Hokage of it but was not supposed to tell you, but get you and your teammates ready, we will work on this and protect each other, okay? Kurenai asked, so was that all that worries you? As Hinata nodded and sniffed. With a nod, Hinata remarked, Naruto, he's different, colder. Kurenai looked at him and said, I know Hinata, but he's got a good reason for it. Think about his life. Then think about what you know of him, and then finding out who your parents were from a man who was trying to kill you at the time. He's had to grow up faster than anyone should have to, and now he's got responsibilities as a noble as well. He must feel pressured over it and scared. Looking up, Hinata questioned, scared? Why? According to Kurenai, he's finally got people who cares for him, but he does not know how to act around them. He's probably afraid if he screws up then they will hate him, and with as lonely as he was it frightens him. But he's always been so happy, Hinata remarked. Kurenai nodded her head. Have you ever truly looked at his eyes, Hinata? He was drowning his sadness before. I can see it in his eyes that he's happy now, but also scared. He wants friends and family so bad he would die for them. Just like Anko. With a thoughtful expression, Hinata questioned, you really think so? Nodding, Kurenai said, I know so. After a few minutes of reflection, Hinata said, Sensei, thank you. You're welcome, daughter, Kurenai said. Hinata gave a small grin and said, you have always been there for me like a real mom, and I made me feel like I was your daughter. Would you be willing to come with me to talk to Naruto later? With a smile, Kurenai replied, yes, but why? According to Hinata, because I want to be his friend. Kurenai got to her feet and said, okay, I'll see if I can give you a chance to talk to him as soon as I can. Hinata got up and said to Kurenai, let's go. I will talk with your father and tell them I decided to pull you when I heard about the threat and you followed my orders in order to protect your bloodline. In response, Hinata said, thank you, mother. Whirlpool was leaping from a tree back at the Forest of Death team when Haku questioned, so what scroll do we need, Naruto-kun? Naruto replied, neither. I took both scroll from Anko with that trick you used on Kakashi when I stole his Icha Paradise book. When she put those scrolls in her pouch they were transported to mine. Cool trick considering we got 3 of them now thanks to the one we got for turning in our forms. When he took out 3 scrolls, 1 earth and 2 heavens. Sitting up, Trinity said, I smell someone coming toward us, sire. With a sigh, Naruto landed in a clearing, crossed his arms, and gestured toward a group of trees. Haku and Trinity then leapt into the trees and prepared themselves. A grass nin landed in the clearing a short while later, and Naruto sniffed the air before stating, based on the smell of snake on you I would say that you are most likely Orochimaru. Impressive, but how did you realize it was me so quickly? The tense grass nin said. As he narrowed his eyes and demonstrated his lack of fear, Naruto stated, I know about your little war on Konoha with Suna Aidebe. I also know about you wanting the Sharingan. See, only 2 people would smell of snakes, you and Anko, so what do you want with me? With a laugh, Orochimaru said, and how do you know so much about me? Naruto continued, my spies went to every hidden village looking for information on a certain organization you used to be a member of. When we heard about your little seizure of the Ricefield country, we had a man implanted in your village to get information. He was there long enough to hear about your little bone boy and his disease as well as your interest in the Sharingan. Another spy in Suna also was there when you met with the Kage. Now tell me why my Kage Bunshin is here talking to a mud clone of you while I am sitting in the tower having tea. He looked up and blinked. Orochimaru replied, I am impressed. I will have to increase my security, so tell me, have you informed the Leaf? Naruto raised his hand and said, only the Hyuga clan, but I have them by the balls with some information so they will not cross me and inform the village. To do so would mean the secret to their bloodline becoming public knowledge, including how to defeat it. Now I am tired of talking. You are wasting mine and my teammates' chakra standing here. You sought me out for a reason, and if you do not tell me I will kill your little bitch Kabuto. With a frown, Orochimaru remarked, very well, I want your village to aid in the destruction of the Leaf. Then Naruto questioned, and why would I do that? To get revenge on them for the way they treated you, Orochimaru stated. Naruto raised his hand and said, how about I got another deal for you? You have something I want, you give that to me and I won't tell anyone about your little attack, and I may order a few of my people who will be here to defend themselves against those they deem a threat, but I want what you have before I agree. With a frown, Orochimaru questioned, and what is that? Taking out a scroll, Naruto threw it to Orochimaru, who caught it, opened it, and discovered a seal, and he said, what's this? Naruto replied, relax, it's a standard storage scroll. Open it and you will understand what I want. A black cloak with red clouds and blood all over it appeared when Orochimaru channeled chakra into it. Naruto then remarked, Zetsu was very informative before he died, but I want more information in your ring, Jinchuriki of Yamato no Orochi. You will have my answer before the end of the second exam, Orochimaru stated. Naruto replied, That's fine, however, if I don't hear something by then I will leak the info about the attack to the local gossipers in Konoha, and I assure you by the time of the actual attack everyone will be expecting it. As he fled into the woods, Orochimaru threw the scroll and the cloak back to Naruto and remarked, "You will have my answer soon." As he, Haku, and Trinity perished in the smoke, Naruto scowled and thought, what an idiot, if he was smart he would have sent a Cage Bun Shin as well. Naruto greeted the Sand Team as they entered the tower and asked, "Yo, what took you?" After the Sand Team gave him a stern look, Trinity slapped her head and uttered the words, "Baka Prince." Naruto replied, "You know it." He took a breath and said, "Inform your father tonight of what has happened. I don't like this plan that well, but it has to be done. I hope it works with all of us coming together on this part." One wonder why Team 8 quit, though they felt like they were ready for the exams. Haku replied, "Hinata is scared of you. I could smell the fear coming off of her at the Hyuga compound." Sighing, Naruto remarked, "What else is new? Oh well." With a sly smile, Haku declared, "I am pregnant." Trinity chuckled and remarked, "I still can't believe he still believes you could get pregnant from a blowjob," as Naruto went wide-eyed and fainted. Haku responded, "Hey, I told his grandmother I would remain technically a virgin until we were married. Oral, foreplay, and handwork is all allowed as long as no vaginal is done." With a grin. With a moan, Naruto inquired, "What happened?" "Guess what, it's twins," Haku said with a smile. The two girls both laughed when Naruto went wide-eyed once more and passed out. The following few days at the tower passed quickly as the Whirlpool team sat in their room after several hours of mental torture during which Zabuza held his sword against Naruto's crotch while he discussed getting his daughter pregnant. Haku finally told Naruto the truth about not being pregnant. A knock on their door on the last night before the exam ended was answered by Zabuza, who said, "What do you want, Four Eyes?" "Let him in, Zabuza. I assume he's here with his master's answer," a voice behind him said. After Zabuza scowled and moved aside, Kabuto entered the room and saw that Naruto was leaning against the wall, his sword resting next to him for convenient access. He could see their other teammate in the corner behind the door. And Haku was kneeling in the corner to his right. Zabuza stood in front of the door, right behind Kabuto, and Naruto said, "So tell me, what does Orochimaru answer?" as the door closed. Kabuto said, "I don't know what you're talking about," while pushing his glasses up. Says Naruto. "Really, Trinity?" Before Kabuto could move, Trinity breathed a blast of black flames that destroyed his left arm and slashed a Zabuza sword across his neck. As his regenerative ability began to heal, Kabuto winced but swiftly used his knowledge to cut off the blood to his now stubby body. No one moved, and Naruto said, "That was her weakest attack. Do not try my patience, as I have none. You are here for a reason, and if I find you inadequate then everyone will believe you chickened out and left the tower because they will never find your ashes. Now do you have what I want?" He then let out enough ki to cause Kabuto to perspire. Kabuto replied, "Yes, I have the information you requested." By Orochimaru-sama said he is keeping the ring for his own safety from not only Akatsuki but from you as well. Disappointed, Naruto uttered, "That was not the offer." Soon after, Kabuto felt a senbon enter his right eye. He winced, reached up, and removed the senbon before hastily removing bandages from his kit and covering his eye. He stated, "I am only a messenger. Orochimaru-sama word is final." Naruto replied, "Let me see this info he has, and if I find nothing of value or any false information in it I will allow Trinity to kill you." Zabuza said, "Don't try anything funny," as Kabuto reached into his kunai pouch and pressed his blade harder against his neck, causing some blood to flow. Trinity approached, took the scroll that Kabuto had carefully withdrew from his hand, opened it, and read it before remarking, "It seems to be real, Naruto-sama." Naruto nods as he says, "Tell your master this. Hold his invasion until after a victor has been called. When I face the Uchiha him and I have a score to settle, I won't kill him, but I am going to humiliate him, which will give your master more of a chance to persuade him to come to you. If he does not hold off the invasion I will kill the Uchiha and destroy his eyes. Do I make myself clear?" As he abruptly collapsed to the ground, a Cloud Nin's body replaced him. "Very well, I will tell him, but you are just a genin and should be aware that threatening a stronger enemy will only end your life early," said Kabuto. After Naruto let out a sigh, Trinity demolished the body and uttered the words, "So what now?" As he started writing on a scroll he took out, Zabuza said, "For now you three get you some rest. You all have to fight tomorrow. I will send word to Whirlpool so they are aware." He then took some hand items and, when he was done, tapped the scroll, which turned red and vanished in a puff of smoke. When Naruto felt something on his chest while lying on a bed, he closed his eyes and opened them to find Haku lying on top of him. When Naruto turned to see Zabuza sitting in a chair against the wall in the corner and closing his eyes, he saw Trinity getting into one of the other beds. All genin and their instructors are to report to the main hall to see who is left, said a chunin from Konoha when Naruto and his group opened the door after hearing another knock the following day. As his team left and Zabuza moved aside, he said, "Right, you heard them team." Haku was in the center, Trinity was in the front, and Naruto was in the rear. Naruto questioned Zabuza, who was directly behind him, "So how many do you think passed?" The Trinity replied, "Unsure. There seems to be chakra blocking seals in the walls to keep people from seeing through them. They also block the fact you can feel chakra on the other side but can't tell how many." Haku replied, "Don't worry Naruto-kun, there isn't really much of a threat." The chunin who was pursuing them regarded them as fools. Zabuza replied, "So are you just going to kill anyone you fight?" Naruto replied, "Depends. If it's someone I like they will just quit being ninja. If it's someone I don't like then I feed them to Kyuubi, just like the last 10 times I did." As he hurried away, the chunin behind them froze, letting the group proceed without him. All 4 of them laughed when he left, and Haku kissed his cheek and remarked, "That's my prince." The Sand Team, the Sound Team, Team 10, Team 9, Team 7, and Team 2 from Konoha were all present when they entered the room. Looking bored, Naruto paused at the end of a line and remarked, "So after all the other teams that entered the test only 8 teams made it. Pathetic." The Sound Team and Sand Team were on when Zabuza turned and ascended the stairs. Every Konoha genin turned to face him, and when the third one showed up, Naruto took out a pack of gum and began to chew on it. "Well, congratulations to everyone who made it," the third person said. When Naruto blew a bubble and it burst loudly, grabbing everyone's attention, he exclaimed, "What?" "Right, as I was," the third said, clearing his throat. "Pardon me, Hokage-sama, but we have too many competitors still at this point in the exam, so we must have a preliminary match," said a sickly-looking man. With a sigh, the third said, "Very well," the individual stated, "I am Hyuga, the proctor for this part of the exams. We must have a preliminary match because all the people who are coming to the finals do not want to waste their time, so please look at the board above us to look for your match. You will fight until I declare a winner. Your opponent dies, gives up, or unable to continue. My decision is final. Anything else is allowed. Now would anyone like to give up?" When someone held up a hand, Hyuga responded, "Yes, what is your name?" According to the boy, "My name is Sai." Hyuga replied, "Very well, please leave so we may continue. Is there anyone else?" Everyone was shocked when the Kabuto team and the Sound team gave up after Sai left. "Very well, would you 6 please leave?" said Hyuga. Only Team 9, 10, the Sand Sibs, and the Whirlpool team remained after they left. Naruto thought, "What the hell? Why did they all quit? What are you up to, Orochimaru?" as the board came to life. The Sound team's Junin instructor turned outside the main hall and said, "Kabuto, you and your team be ready. I was not able to approach the Uchiha in the exams with that root member next to him as well as meeting the Whirlpool team. I want you to help the medics here, and until this exam is over I want you to secure him long enough for me to give him a gift. After that I want you to leave Konoha until the invasion since your cover is blown. You are too valuable to lose right now. As for you 3. He swiftly called forth 3 snakes, which bit the 3 Sound genins, and Orochimaru said, "I will prepare them for the sacrifice now that they are unable to move." He then created 2 mud clones, each of which grabbed a genin and departed. As they turned and headed toward the medical section of the tower, Kabuto said, "You heard Orochimaru-sama." After 2 names were finalized on the board back in the main hall, Hyuga remarked, "Would everyone else please leave the floor?" Naruto felt multiple sets of eyes on him as they ascended the stairs, but he chose to ignore them. "First match, Shikamaru vs Sakura begin," Hyuga stated. As Sakura realized she couldn't move, she assumed a fighting stance, drew out a pair of kunais, and uttered, "I won't lose to you Shikamaru Beck what?" As the kunai in Sakura's hand pushed against her neck, Shikamaru turned his wrist and moved it toward his throat, saying, "I win." "Just shut up already you troublesome girl. No wonder Naruto left your team." With a cough, Hyuga declared, "Winner Shikamaru." As Kakashi perspired and Naruto slapped his head, Ino remarked, "Hell yeah Shika, you showed forehead." "Troublesome," was Shikamaru's comment as he ascended the stairs after releasing the jutsu. Sakura approached her team and said, "But how?" Kakashi said while perusing his book, "While you were busy looking at Naruto walking away, Shikamaru discreetly made all but the last hand sign of his family jutsu. When you reached for your weapon and started to boast, he finished the jutsu, and since you were so close your shadow was already touching him, so he did not even have to think to beat you. I thought you would have remember what his family jutsu were like from the academy, so I didn't mention anything." After the screen finished scrolling through names and ending with Haku versus Lee, Sakura hung her head in embarrassment. Haku approached Naruto to plant a kiss before melting into the ground as an ice mirror formed beneath her, causing her to emerge on the arena floor, shocking everyone. As he landed on the floor after jumping over the side rail, Lee exclaimed, "Let us show our youthfulness." Sweating, Haku turned to face Tenten and inquired, what did he mean by that change? When Tenten realized that everyone was staring at her, she remarked, "He means he wants a good match." With a nod, Haku said, "Let's." Lee assumed a combat stance, and Haku followed suit. And Hyuga said, "Second match, begin." As Lee charged Haku, she melted into the floor, creating an ice mirror beneath her. "Sensei, she's doing that without hand seals," Sakura remarked. Observing the match, Kakashi remarked, "I noticed she must be really good with ice jutsu. That was quite fast charging and hoping to catch me off guard, Lee-san. But I can tell by the bandages on your arm as well as the stance you took, you fight with the Iron Fist Taijutsu. It works on high speed, hard-hitting strikes at targets breaking the bones. I can't allow you to fight me as such, so I must fight you with long range and speed as well, forgive me." Lee halted his charge and turned to look around the arena when a voice above the statue said, flashing through hand signs before she was covered in smoke. Everyone was watching her, and when the smoke cleared, almost everyone gasped, with the exception of the Whirlpool and Tenten team. A five-tailed kitsune was standing atop the black-furred statue, and the fox leapt off it and exclaimed, "Now, let's fight," in Haku's voice. "What was that technique?" asked Sasuke, his Sharingan blazing. "I couldn't copy it." Kakashi watched and said, "I don't know." When he charged, Lee remarked, "That is a most youthful technique, but let's see how you can handle fighting me." A double-bladed knife of ice materialized in front of Haku's mouth as she started to move her tails, and she charged as well. Lee attempted to strike the fox, but his blows were only inches away. After he tried to strike her multiple times, Haku abruptly snapped her head from left to right, causing the ice knife to fly from her mouth when it struck Lee's hamstrings. He leapt back and hit the ground. Haku returned as a human and stated, "Now your speed has been removed from the equation. I am sorry for doing that, but I cannot lose at this point. I made it where you can be easily healed because you were teammates with one of my friends. Now please give up. I don't want to hurt you." "I can't give up here. I have something to prove." Lee stood up on very painful and unsteady legs, then unclapped his weights and said, "Forgive me, Guy Sensei, but I must do this to protect my way of a ninja." Guy replied, "Very well, Lee, do what you must." Lee dropped his weights, and Haku sighed and went on the defensive. Everyone was shocked by the weight's impact, and before Haku knew it, Lee was in front of her, kicking her into the air with his feet before he leapt to his feet with his hands. Lee put his arms around her and said, "Forgive me." Haku was stunned, and they both began to spin back toward the ground below with her eyes closed. Haku made quick hand signs, merging with an ice mirror that formed beneath her just before they hit the ground. As Haku continued to fall quickly into another mirror, a second mirror appeared in the air near the roof. This process was repeated multiple times until she finally lost enough speed to fall to the ground and utter the words, "OWWW." Crawling out of the crater, he hit. Lee, who was feeling the effects of his technique and his leg injuries, said, "That was unexpected." He stood up very shakily. Haku stood up as well, but he held her right arm. "First gate open, second gate open, third gate open," Lee said, closing his eyes. "Guy, you idiot. What were you thinking teaching him that?" yelled Kakashi. "It's his trump card," Guy stated from behind them. Naruto emerged from a mirror and uttered, "Tell me, how many can he open?" After glancing at him, Guy questioned, "Why do you want to know?" Naruto stated, "If he can't open more than 6, he's lost. My grandmother taught Haku about the gates and how to open them as well as close them in herself, and another person she can close the first 5, but she has not had a chance to learn the other 3 yet." As he examined the game, Guy inquired, "How can someone close another's gates?" Haku said, "I am sorry, but you leave me no choice," as she fell into another ice mirror beneath her, and Naruto gestured to the floor where she had once again transformed into a kitsune. Before Lee could do anything, 5 tails stabbed him in the back with ice needles on each tail, and Lee collapsed to the ground as Sakura yelled, "Lee, look out. Proctor, please call the match." I have forcefully shut the 3 gates he had open and the next 2 just in case he can't move until his body absorbs the chakra overload he is in now, Haku said, holding her arm as he slowly transformed back into human form. Lee's mouth was open in a silent scream, and his eyes were weeping. "Until you heal, a false death is the only way I can ease your pain. I am sorry." Haku turned and headed for the stairs after feeling sorry for him and forming another ice needle in her hand and sending it to his neck. Winner Haku, Hyuga said, glancing at Lee and Haku. Before falling face first to the ground, Haku grinned Naruto, then materialized in front of her and remarked, "Easy Haim. You did good. You had the option to kill him at any moment, but you chose not to." As he carried her bridal style to the stairs, he said, "Relax now." Sakura called out, "Kabuto, what are you doing?" as a group of medics entered, grabbing everyone's attention. "Well, my teammates and I are all medical nins," Kabuto stated. "We quit because we were not really frontline combatants outside of the tests. We never stopped trying to prove ourselves." As he and the other two began to examine Lee, he said, "We offered to help the medics here in the tower for more experience." As he took out the senbon in his neck, which melted rapidly, and the ones in his back, Kabuto raised an eyebrow and remarked, "Impressive. His opponent must have very thorough knowledge of the human anatomy to be able to make each shot so precise as well as non-lethal." The third scowled and asked, "What are you up to, Orochimaru?" as they carried Lee out of the ring. Bringing everyone's attention with a cough, Hyuga said, "Right now, would the next two contestants please come down?" When Naruto noticed that Sasuke vs Ino was the next match, he thought, "Great." As Ino went pale, Shoji remarked, "Good luck, Ino." But, Ino said. Asuma replied, "Ino, looks like it's time for you to grow up out of your crush on Sasuke or you won't be able to advance." When Ino turned to face her sensei, Naruto scowled at her and turned to face the third, who was shaking his head. "Oiteme, it appears that you have a free pass to the next match," Naruto remarked. "You have one of your worthless fangirls." After all, at least Sakura attempted to fight even after realizing she was outmatched by a more powerful opponent. "I suppose Sakura is stronger than Ino." Sakura was furious, and Ino yelled, "Stop talking so loudly. You have no knowledge of me." Grinning, Naruto uttered, "Then prove me wrong." When Ino's teammates realized what Naruto had just done, they all grinned, and Ino leapt over the rail to where Sasuke was waiting. Sasuke replied, "You should quit because you have no chance of defeating me." After swallowing, Ino declared, "I won't quit. Start when you're ready." Hyuga said. Sasuke appeared in front of her before Ino could move. Copying the move he saw Lee perform, Naruto screamed, "Thief!" Sasuke lost focus on Ino, who had already been knocked unconscious by the blow to her chin, and he overshot her, moving away from her and unable to complete the move. Sasuke flipped and landed, and Hyuga said, "Winner, Sasuke." Naruto received Sasuke's glare and responded, "Don't glare at me, you Hyuga branch member." A number of the genins appeared perplexed by Naruto's statement, and Sasuke clenched his teeth. Sakura looked anxiously at Ino as her sensei led her to join her team and inquired, "What did Naruto mean by that, sensei?" With a sly smile, Neji stated, "He meant that Sasuke is nothing more than a descendant of slaves and should know his place as a slave." "Shut it, Hyuga, you're the true slave here," said Sasuke. As he reached up and took off his headband, revealing flawless skin, Neji grinned and said, "Really, I hate to tell you this, but you're wrong. The Hyuga have unified themselves and," he added, "and only cowards like your clan have to worry about being slaves since you have no honor." When Naruto saw that Neji and Shoji were the next match, he glanced at the board and exclaimed, "Oh come on." Shoji remarked as Neji was walking down, "I should just give up now." Asuma replied, "If you fight him, Shoji, I will take you out to eat at your favorite barbecue place." "Let's see, there are a total of 6 of us left now, the Sand Team, Trinity, me, and Tenten," Shoji thought as he screamed and danced for free food, while Naruto perspired. Neji won the match quickly, and Tenten and Temari faced off in the following match. "It's over, Tenten can't beat a wind user with weapons," Naruto thought as the match continued. He glared at Temari and said, "You had the match the moment you found she was a long-range weapon user and you were a wind user. Why did you try and hurt her further after she passed out?" As the match came to an end, Tenten was thrown into the air, and Temari placed her fan underneath her. An ice mirror appeared on top of the fan. Catching Tenten in her bridal style, he said, "Rest, you did good." As she attempted to remove Naruto from her admirer, Temari uttered the words, "I did what I felt like." "Then I will do what I feel like to your brother," Naruto said, looking at the board, as he melted into a mirror and materialized by Zabuza. "Guard them both. Anyone tries to touch them, kill them." Naruto said, "Guy, protect the rest of your students and don't worry about Tenten. This match is going to cause collateral damage," as he jumped over the rail, in response to Zabuza's sly smile. Guy noticed Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze vs Sabaku no Gara written on the board. "Can I take my student?" Guy inquired. "Not until this match is over," Trinity said as her eyes and Zabuza took slits while releasing ki. Naruto-sama gave specific orders. "If anyone tries to touch either of them, we are to kill them, and we would love to do just that." As he returned to Neji, Guy sighed and said, "Very well, but you are responsible for them, and if anything happens I will take it out on you both. Be prepared." He said things will get messy. When Gaara landed on the floor, Naruto said, "Tell me, who are you right now, Gaara or Shukaku?" The Sand team was shocked. As he assumed a fighting stance that caused both Guy and Kakashi to widen their eyes, Naruto waved his hand and said, "Forget it, I don't care either way, I'm going to inflict a lot of pain on you for what your sister tried to do to a precious person to me. According to Hyuga, you may begin when ready." Mukuten. Birth of the dense forest, Naruto said, flashing through hand signs, and all of a sudden, trees covered the floor as he swung his arms forward. The disc began cutting the trees as they fell to the ground. Naruto swiftly created 20 cage bunchins, all of whom began flashing through one hand seal. One of them said, "Wind style. Arrow." And the disc headed toward Gaara, whose sand blocked most of it, but the force of the attack sent him into a tree. After finishing hand seals, two other Naruto exhaled a 20-foot wide fire that struck the fallen trees and set them on fire, saying, "Fire style. Gained fireball jutsu." A 10-foot tall black frog materialized, and Naruto said, "Give me oil on all the trees." As he melted into an ice mirror, the real Naruto appeared on the roof, biting his thumb while using hand signs and saying, "Kuchino's no jutsu." Gaara got up and started to look around when someone yelled, "Secret jutsu. Demonic ice mirrors." A dome of ice mirrors appeared over Gaara, and 8 cage bunchins joined them. They all took out senbons and started hurling them at Gaara, but she blocked them with sand. Sasuke questioned, "Why the hell can't I copy any of the Dobe's jutsu?" As the entire audience in the stands gasped. "He's using one-handed seals," Kakashi remarked. Asuma replied, "How the hell can he use so many different elements?" At that moment, a water dragon emerged from the crushed ice, striking the sand, destroying the ice mirrors and causing a shout of, "Water style, water dragon jutsu." Temari let out the word, "Gaara." As the fire ate up all the trees, Naruto emerged as Gaara surrounded him with a circle dome of sand. He then swiftly called forth another toad and commanded, "Both of you, soak the hell out of the sand with oil." The sand dome swiftly caught fire after both toads sprayed it with oil. As he transformed into a 7-tailed kitsune, Naruto started to form hand seals and was covered in smoke. He swiftly started moving his tails and uttered the words, "Water style. Tidal wave." A massive tidal wave struck the flaming sand, and Naruto used his tail to flash through seals once more while declaring, "Hidden mist no jutsu." The entire arena was shrouded in mist. Let's see, Ichibi, Nibi, Sanbi, Yanbi, Gobi, Rokubi, Nanabi, Hachibi, Kyubi. What makes you think a pathetic little Weasil could stand up to the strongest when he's the weakest? Naruto's voice said, and everyone gasped as the mist was blown away and Gaara, who was looking around in fear, was inside a glass circle. All the damage had been removed from the trees. "That is Gambunta's dagger. He's the toad boss. He's waiting for my command to kill you, Jinchuriki. Now you have two choices: leave this village and never return without permission, or die. You probably have 10 minutes of air and your demon's chakra won't work because the wood I used was infused with my chakra and it neutralized demon chakra, so you can't transform or release the bastard. Now choose," Naruto said as he blasted Gaara with enough ki. Temari cried out, "Stop, please don't hurt him." As he blasted her with a tiny blast of ki, Naruto said, "If I do, it's because I felt like it." As Naruto heard Haku, he gradually relaxed. Suddenly, 2 pairs of arms appeared behind him, and he heard a voice whisper, "Shush, let it go, Naruto-kun." He noticed Tenten holding him as well when he glanced over his shoulder. With a nod, Naruto turned to face the ghostly white Hyuga and questioned, "So do I win?" Hyuga was only able to nod with a sigh. Naruto falls into both girls' arms. As the dagger smoldered in the smoke, Kankuro asked, "What about Gaara?" as they assisted him to the stand. As he was assisted up the stairs and leaned against the wall, Naruto uttered the words, "Get him out yourself." "What have I told you about bloodlust?" asked Zabuza, laughing. Trinity leapt over the rail and landed on the glass ball. As Naruto glared at him, she swiftly raised her sword and slammed it into the ball, causing black flames to race down it and shatter the ball. Trinity said, "Move before I finish what Naruto-sama started," as Gaara began to gasp for air. Gaara was so scared that she shushined up to the stands and could only nod. Hyuga said, "Are you ready for your match? If so, please come down," in response to Kankuro's fear. Hyuga said, "Ready, begin," as Trinity held her sword out to the side as Kankuro gulped and descended the stairs. Trinity appeared through hand signs before Kankuro could think, covered in smoke, and transformed into a 30-foot tall dragon who grinned and remarked, "I wonder what your puppet looks like on fire." Kankuro fell on his ass and backed away, screaming, "I quit." The third said, "Would all winners please come down to the floor?" As Trinity snorts and a ring of smoke emerges from her nose before she transforms back into a human. As Sasuke, Neji, Shikamaru, Naruto, Trinity, and Haku all descended and lined up, Temari was terrified as she descended. Tenten recalled what had transpired just moments before as they started drawing numbers. Rewind after waking up and sensing that someone was stroking her hair, Tenten noticed that Haku was running her hands through her hair. She then sat up, looked at the floor, and inquired, "What happened?" Trinity remarked, "Your opponent attempted to cut your spine by putting her fan under your fall, but Naruto-sama saved you from potentially dying. It was because I felt like it, so Naruto-sama is going to show her how it feels," she replied when he asked her why, gesturing to the floor where the match had just begun. Tenten's eyes widened as she saw Naruto swiftly destroy his opponent, and Haku's gasp caught her attention, prompting her to ask, "What?" "Naruto-kun is allowing his bloodlust to control him," Haku remarked. "He will not stop until he kills him, so I hope he ends this quickly." Startled, Tenten questioned, "Is there anything that can stop him?" "Yes, his friends must soothe him," Zabuza said. "It is the sole thing capable of preventing him." With a blink, Tenten questioned, "Mates as in plural?" "I might have been telling him certain things about you liking him," Haku said, flushed. After blushing, Tenten remarked, "You told me he wouldn't know." Glaring at Zabuza, Haku grinned and remarked, "Well, he's kind of accidentally found out thanks to father." "He's getting into a dangerous area now," Zabuza said, laughing before becoming serious. "The children are allowing it to affect him." He gestured to Naruto and said, "Neither Trinity nor I can stop him, nor can anyone else save the two of you." A massive ass dagger suddenly pierced the ceiling, and Tenten exclaimed, "Holy shit." As she leapt over the rail, Haku remarked, "Well, I don't know about you, but I got to stop my fiancé." A few moments later, Tenten jumped over and said, "You're not leaving me behind." They rushed toward Naruto and embraced him, and as Haku whispered in his ear, Naruto tensed for a moment before gradually losing all of his energy. Final flashback. Tenten blinked, causing Naruto to chuckle. She then glanced at the lineout and began to perspire. Trinity vs Neji. Temari vs Haku. Sasuke vs Naruto. And Shikamaru against the first match victor. With a laugh, Naruto turned to face Tenten and Zabuza with his teammates after saying, "I am so looking forward to this match." "Want to join us for dinner tonight, Tenten?" asked Naruto as he arrived. Looking at Haku, Tenten said, "We both would like for you to join us." Tenten made a, "All right." Grabbing her in Haku's hands, Naruto grinned and said, "Good, let's get the hell out of here." He then departed in a flurry of leaves. Trinity departed in a whirl of black flames, and Zabuza in a whirl of water. With a ghostly white face, Temari asked, "What should we do, Baki-sensei?" Baki looked at Gaara, who was mumbling about evil flaming kitsunes while in a fetal position, and said, "I don't know." Gaara still scared. When Naruto, Haku, and Tenten gathered in a hotel room that evening following the Chunin exam preliminary, Tenten remarked, "I had a wonderful time tonight, thanks for inviting me." Fidgeting, Naruto uttered, "No problem Tenten. I was wondering something." Tenten looked at him and said, "What? Do you like it here in Konoha?" inquired Naruto. Tenten said, blinking, "I guess. Why?" Just wondering. Look, I need to go take care of something." "Haku, would you mind?" Naruto said with a smile as he looked down. Haku replied, "Okay. I will take Tenten home when she's ready, but I am going to talk with her some more to catch up on old times." After nodding, Naruto tumbles into an ice mirror. Tenten asked, "What was that about?" after he left. "After the exams are over, we have to head back to Whirlpool," Haku said, letting out a sigh and drawing her knees to her chest. "Why?" Tenten asked. Haku murmured, "A group of men are planning to kill Naruto. He's not strong enough to fight them yet, so after the exams are over we are going back to Whirlpool because they might try and use me to get to him, and I am not strong enough to face them either. We only came here for 3 reasons. 1 was to see the few people we have here that we care for. 2 was to warn Konoha about the war that's going to happen during the finals of the exams, and the 3rd thing was to get his revenge against the Uchiha." Tenten said, looking down, "I see." Tenten said, "He wants to know if I wanted to come with you, doesn't he?" after a few minutes of silence. Haku responded, "Yes, but he doesn't want to pressure you into it, which is why he asked if you were happy here." Looking at the ceiling, Tenten remarked, "I guess I can understand that, but why does he act so cold? I mean, when he was here before he was warmer." Haku laughed and replied, Oh, that's just an act. We have to act like we hate the Leaf Village right now so that way Orochimaru would approach us to aid in the invasion so we could get info to help the village like he did. Naruto is actually in the Hokage's office right at this moment telling him what we got. Okay, that's good, Tenten said, nodding. I was worried he was another Neji or Sasuke in training. She said, I don't know about Neji, but don't ever refer to him as the Uchiha, he might just hurt you for it. Haku froze, and the room grew chilly. Tenten said, wait, sorry, I was joking, while raising her hands. The chill in the room stopped when Haku averted her glare. Tenten inquired, what was that about Haku? Sorry, Haku sighed. Remember what happened with Naruto earlier in the exams? Haku nods and Tenten responds, that was bloodlust. There are several versions of it. One is when a maid is in trouble, which is what happened today. The other is protecting our children when we have some. Another comes when someone insults our maid, and the last is with extreme emotional distress. Tenten replied, so when I insulted Naruto you were becoming bloodlust. Haku replied, yes, I just have a better control on it since me and you were close. If it had been anyone else they would probably either be in the hospital or grave right now. The bloodlust is like a rush of energy into your system that makes it where you become stronger for a little while. It's also why he nearly passed out after the exams. It comes at a cost. The moment his body uses the last of his regular energy he has to take 2 minutes to recover for every minute he uses it. Luckily he was at full strength and has massive chakra reserves. Tenten inquired, how did you get it? I mean, how did you become a kitsune in the exams? Haku replied, well, I guess I could say that it's because I am bound to Naruto. If my body is killed I will go back to the seal inside of Naruto and then I can have a new body. That way I will live on as long as he does. However, if he dies I die. Tenten said, looking down, I see. Haku nodded and continued, no, you don't. You see, it's like this. Naruto-kun's family live a very long time. How long I don't know, but because normally I would die way before him. They have made it where mates are never separated. If the wife dies she will usually go inside of her husband's mind and wait until the time a new body is created for her. It's one of the ways the husband protects the wife. The wife is supposed to protect the children. If the husband dies before the children reach puberty then the wife will live until they do and then pass away. They believe greatly in protecting their children. That is why things are the way they are, so that way the future is protected. Naruto is different because of the seal his father used on him. Tenten replied, so if I were to become Naruto wife also then I would get a new body. As Tenten nodded, Haku remarked, I see, I guess I understand that, but it just doesn't seem natural. Haku chuckled as he said, it would if I could tell you the rest, but until you make a choice if you really want to be with Naruto or not then I can't, because these secrets could cause war over them. I understand, Tenten said. In the Hokage tower across town, Naruto remarked, and that is all I have for now. I was able to convince him to wait until my match with Sasuke has been officially declared. With a nod, the third replies, very well, thank you Naruto. The third puts his hands together and says, Kia. As a wave of energy passes over the room, the windows return to normal, the silence jutsu ends, and Naruto nods before vanishing in a swirl of water. A voice said, you know, you should try to be a little less predictable, kid, and Naruto sat down after appearing on top of the Yondaime's head. Naruto took a breath and said, I know Zabuza, I hate it here in this village. I thought if I came back things would be different, but everything feels wrong. People either look at me with fear or with false happiness and it makes me sick. I thought that if they were to see me in a new light things would be better, but now instead of being the annoying idiot everyone ignores, I am the royal powerful prince who everyone wants to kiss my ass so they could get things from me. As he gazed at the nearby village, Zabuza let out a sigh. That's life, kid. Nothing will truly ever change people unless they want to be changed. So are you ready? Trinity and Haku are going to train themselves together while I train with you. Where do you want to train? Asks Naruto, nodding. After giving it some thought, Zabuza said, let's go to Wave so you can fulfill your commitment to the Gaki. Tomorrow I still have to get the answer from the Hyugas, Naruto said with a genuine smile. Zabuza responds with a nod. Right, then let's get you some sleep. Since the girls are all in the same room tonight you can stay in mine, but you're taking the couch. As they both depart in a swirl of water, Naruto snorts and says, thanks, in a mocking manner before grinning and saying, I mean it, thanks. When Naruto knocked on the door of Haku and Trinity's room the following day, he heard someone moving inside. The door opened, and a drowsy-looking Trinity wearing a long t-shirt and pajama shorts with bags under her eyes said, thank God you're here. Naruto-sama. Those two would not be quiet all night. Her eyes widened for a moment. 2. Naruto blinked. I thought Haku was going to take Tenten home last night. As she let him into the room, Trinity remarked, I think she did, but not that home from the noises I heard. After blinking and moving to the room where Haku was supposed to wake her, Naruto passed out and blew back with a nosebleed. Tenten and Haku were both on the bed, wearing only a pair of underwear pressed against one another, and their bodies were covered in hickeys, lipstick, and scratches. Tenten and Haku giggled as they released the genjutsu they were carrying and revealed both girls wearing long sleeping shirts and shorts. Trinity snickered, put her hands together, and said, "Kai." The bags under her eyes vanished. Tenten replied, "I can't believe that actually worked. I knew the boy was somewhat innocent from what you told me, but I can't believe he would pass out from seeing us both naked like that." Haku chuckled as he said, "Well, until a few days ago he still believed he could get me pregnant with a blowjob. I love him to death, but I still can't believe he's that naive on things like this even after reading all of Icha Paradise together, and he still doesn't understand most of it." "So what should we do about him now?" asked Trinity. According to Tenten, "I got an idea." Naruto woke up a short while later to find himself in nothing but his boxers, his arms and legs tied, and an eagle hanging in the center of the room. Tenten and Haku, both dressed in leather dominatrix outfits, were standing in front of Naruto, with Tenten holding a horse crop and Haku holding a whip. Haku said, "Oh Naruto-kun, you have been a bad boy and must be punished," as she cracked the whip in the air. Tenten slapped the crop in her hand and said, "Yes, you must. You saw me naked without me giving myself to you, and I hate perverts." With a gulp, Naruto said in a terrified voice, "Wait, I am not a pervert." Tenten replied, "Yes you are, and now you will be our little boy toy." When Naruto said, "No please, give me a chance to," Tenten silenced him by holding a kunai to his crotch. She then pushed it a little harder against his boxers and said, "You want a chance? Fine, answer my questions, and if I think you're telling the truth then I won't punish this." Tenten grinned and asked, "Do you think I look good?" while Naruto was only able to nod. After giving it some thought, Naruto remarked, "There is no right answer to that question. If I say yes, then you call me a pervert. If I say no, then you call me a bastard." As Naruto screamed and a senbon needle was stabbed in his ass, Haku approached him, bit him on the neck, gave him a hickey, and said, "Good answer Naru-kun, but now you must be punished for not answering her question." When Naruto opened his eyes and saw Tenten and Haku both massaging his crotch, he began to perspire and swallow as he felt himself becoming hard. He thought, "No, don't get hard, don't get hard, don't, oh god that feels good." Naruto was perspiring and enjoying himself when he suddenly noticed Tenten and Haku smiling, and he thought, "Oh." Naruto was in pain. Half an hour later he was still hard and unable to come, so Haku and Tenten alternated massaging his crotch through his shorts. Why can't I come?" he finally asked, tears streaming down his face. Tenten glanced at Haku, who was grinning and nodding. "Remember that senbon I stabbed you with? It was laced with a natural herb that increases a male's ability to stay hard, but I also hit a pressure point making it where you could come, so you're now stuck with a hard-on for about 20 minutes, and also you're not able to come until I remove the senbon." Tears were streaming from Naruto's eyes as he said, "Please." According to Tenten, "Only if you answer my real questions." Naruto replied, "Anything. What do you think of me?" Tenten asked. As Haku accelerated, Naruto questioned, "What do you mean?" Tenten inquired, "Do you think you want me to be one of your mates?" Panting, Naruto replied, "Yes." With his eyes fixed on his, Tenten said, "Why you don't know me?" "Because Haku has told me all about you, like how kind, strong, caring you were, and also how serious, deadly, and sensitive you were also." Naruto closed his eyes and bit his lip as he felt another wave of pleasure and pain. "She told me all about the things you like and dislike, and I also think you look good, and I trust Haku's opinion of you as well as the fact you treated me friendly even when you learned the truth about me and my family." As soon as the senbon needle was taken out and Tenten's lips touched his, Naruto experienced waves of pleasure. Tenten said, "Go get cleaned up Naruto-kun, you're all sticky," as he stepped back after the kiss and threw 4 kunais that sliced the ropes holding him. After noticing that his boxers were completely soaked, Naruto sighed and melted into an ice mirror to go back to his room. A click sound was heard, and Haku inquired, "So did you get it all?" Trinity said, "Oh yeah, this should get either of you all the favors you could ever want from him in the future as blackmail," dropping the genjutsu she was hiding in and pointing to a videotape. While Tenten was laughing, Haku remarked, Poor Naruto-kun, he has no idea what he is in for when he decided to let me have change or join us." Tenten smiled as she remarked, "I think the next several years are going to be fun." As she grabbed Tenten and planted a kiss on her lips, Haku replied, "Oh yeah. Well, at least you're all mates," Trinity sighed. After giving Trinity a quick glance, Haku said, "Want to join?" "No," said Trinity, flushed, "you know I already have a boyfriend." Haku laughed and replied, "I know, but I can't resist teasing you. I still can't believe you're dating my adopted father. Does that mean you're going to be my mother?" Trinity exclaimed, as her perspiration fell. That's enough, Haku, let's get ready to train, Tenten said with a giggle. Haku nods and heads to change, but Trinity slaps him across the ass with a motherly reprimand, saying, show a little modesty, young lady. With a laugh, Haku said, yes, mother. Tenten erupted in laughter and grabbed her by the sides. An hour or so later, Zabuza and Naruto stood before the Hyuga clan once more and questioned, so what is your decision? Hiyashi took a position and declared, we accept. Naruto looks at him and says, good, when the exams are over as well as the invasion we will change the volunteers' bloodline. Until then have fun, relax, and enjoy your time as a real family. It's time to go train Zabuza. As the two of them walked out to wave, Zabuza said, yes Naruto-sama. They would not be seen again until the exam day. The world's destiny would be determined today. Everyone was in one location and watching the same event. Konoha. He sat in the cage seat, disguised as the Kazekage, whom he had killed over the 1-month break, which most people are unaware of, and on one side were the eyes of Orochimaru, the Snake Sanin, and the Otokage. Next to him was another pair of Konoha's Hokage eyes, the Sandaime Hokage is Sarutobi Sasuke. Edgar Uzumaki, the king of Whirlpool country, and his personal guard Aragon stood next to him on the other side of the Kazekage. Several diplomatic representatives from different nations were among the crowd. The 7 genins below were the center of attention. One was Hyuga Neji, the clan's newest heir and the greatest prodigy to emerge from the Hyuga clan in over a century. Trinity would be his first opponent, Haku Momochi's official bodyguard and the daughter of the king's official bodyguard. Haku Momochi, the daughter of Zabuza Momochi, the former demon of the Bloody Mist and currently Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze's official bodyguard, was the next opponent. She is also Naruto's fiancée copyright. Tamari, the eldest daughter of the late Kazekage and sister to Gaara, the Jinchuriki of the Ichibi no Shukaku, is her opponent. Next to her is Shikamaru Naru, a teammate of Ino and Choji and a secret genius of the Nara clan with an IQ of over 200. He is the son of the clan head. He is accompanied by Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, son of Minato Namikaze, Yandaime Hokage of Konoha, and Kushina Uzumaki, princess of Whirlpool country, and Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, heir to the Whirlpool throne. Sasuke Uchiha, the youngest son of the Uchiha clan's head and the brother of Itachi Uchiha, the man who murdered the other Uchiha clan members, is the final genin. Konoha considered him a prodigy of the Uchiha clan. A man who had a senbon needle in his mouth came in front of them all and said, congratulations on making it this far in the biannual Chunin exams. Each of you represent your village, your teachers, and your teams. Please show everyone here why you are here and that you deserve to advance to become a Chunin. My name is Genma and I am your proctor for the final exam. Now without further waiting, would Neji, Hyuga and Trinity please remain in the arena while the rest of you go to the waiting area. In Haku's, Naruto approached him and wished him luck, saying, hello Haim, good luck today. Before following the other competitors up the stairs, Haku looked at their third teammate and blushed before saying, and to you as well Naruto-kun. Trinity, good luck. Trinity grins to herself before turning to face Neji, who had already assumed a defensive stance for the gentle fist-style Genma, then glances at both competitors while Trinity jumped backwards and said, the first match of the final begin. Neji and Trinity just stared at each other without taking any action. Neji believed that stance. Gai-sensei showed it to me once when we first became a team. He said it was a style specifically made to beat the gentle fist style. I doubted his truth back then and insulted him over it, but now that I see it I can honestly say he might be right. The stance would block most of my attacks unless I am the faster of the two. Trinity remarked, you're already giving up before we fight, how sad, as she noticed the doubt beginning to form in Neji's eyes. As he charged at her, Neji blinked, glared, and said, you are fated to lose. Trinity used her left hand to block Neji's first palm thrust, pushing him away and stopping the second shot that would have struck her in the chest. Then she forced him to jump back by bringing her knee to his. He returned and said, I'm impressed, that's basic in Whirlpool, now see why I am Her Highness's personal bodyguard, Trinity said, reaching for her sword as black flames rushed down her arm, covering it, and then she swung it forward, sending a black dragon made of flames flying at Neji. Neji attempted to jump sideways, but when he noticed the dragon altering his course, he assumed a stance and started spinning. As the Kaishin was used, a number of Hyuga in the stands widened their eyes. Neji was struck by the black flames, which raged against the sphere for more than a minute. Neji was unconscious when the flames subsided, and Trinity declared, like the Sharingan's black flames, mine can burn for 7 days and 7 nights without stopping unless I chose them to proctor. I win. She sheathed her sword and made her way to the stands. My flames consumed all the air inside of the Kaden while he was spinning, making it where he passed out from having no air and also running out his chakra. When Genma saw that Neji was being honest, she checked up on her and said, "Winner by knockout, Trinity." The audience applauded, and Rune, in the cage booth, remarked, "You must be proud of your daughter Edgar. To show such skills at her age is incredible and proves you were right in nominating her as Haku's personal guard." Edgar replied, "Yes, your majesty, she takes after her mother in the regards of the black flames, but her dragon skills come from me. We are both proud of her." The third replied, "I am impressed as well by that she showed a weakness that no one has ever thought of for the Hyuga's ultimate defense." The Cage responded, "May I ask, how she has the black flames? I mean, I had only believed the Sharingan could produce them." Rune replied, "That is a secret of the Whirlpool country Cage, but if you wait until my grandson's match is over, your question will be answered and it will be very enlightening." When Trinity reached the contestants' booth below in the ring, Haku remarked, "Well done, Trinity, you have demonstrated why you are so graceful and deadly." "Thank you, Princess." Trinity bowed. "Would Tamari and Haku please come down for the second match?" said Genma's voice. As Tamari glided down on her fan, Haku said, "Well, it looks like it's time for my match." She then fell into an ice mirror and emerged from one on the floor below. "The second match between Haku and Tamari is ready to start. Ready, begin," Genma said as he leapt back when she arrived. Haku laughed and replied, "Remember what my fiancé did to your brother during the preliminaries, Tamari, for trying to hurt Tenten after you won your match." As she prepared to attack if necessary, Tamari said, "Yeah, what of it? It's nothing compared to what I am about to do," Haku said, grabbing a Hunter Nin's mask from her pocket before plunging into the water. As soon as she saw the arena, Tamari went on the defensive and yelled, "Come out, you little bitch." Haku's voice said, bouncing all over the arena, "It's Vixen actually, but you see, you know nothing of me. Before I met Naruto-kun, I was the adopted daughter and apprentice of Zabuza Momochi, the demon of the bloody mist. Whenever someone tried to defeat him and was winning, I would disguise myself as a Hunter Nin to save him and then defeat our enemies. I also have the ability to watch someone fight just once and figure out several ways to defeat them. That is why Zabuza was able to defeat the Sharingan of Hitaki Kakashi. Because I had figured out 3 different ways to defeat it. I have done that with everyone I have ever faced, and you see, I saw your match against Tenten and now I know that you are a wind user who works on long-range attack. You are weak when it comes to short-range attacks or whenever an opponent uses elemental attacks that stop your wind jutsu. You also must have your fan to amplify your wind jutsu or you're helpless. Now that I have defined your strength and weaknesses, let's start your utter defeat. Objective 1. Eliminate your fan." When Tamari reached for her fan in an attempt to locate Haku, she gasped as she saw that it was entirely covered in ice. Haku responded, "You also have trouble multitasking, which is why you did not notice me freezing your fan. Oh, and in case you think that ice can be broken easily, it can stand up to my fiancé when he uses the Kyuubi chakra and also the black flames of Trinity touch luck." As she reached into her weapons pouch and took out 2 small fans, one in each hand, Tamari snarled and uttered, "Well, I admit you eliminated my primary weapon, but you have not stopped me." Since the trees on the other side of the arena were the only place she could believe Haku was hiding, she directed her chakra into them before directing a wave of wind chakra at them. Haku appeared as the trees fell, grinning while standing atop one of them and saying, "Sorry, you missed." She then exploded into the water once more. Tamari snarled and glared around before uttering the words, "Come out of hiding, you coward." The ground suddenly exploded in front of her, forcing her to jump aside as Haku appeared in front of her holding 2 sei. She charged at Tamari as soon as she emerged, forcing her to defend herself with her small fans. Tamari snarled, "How did you get so close to me?" Haku smirked and said, "Simple, I was always by you. As I was talking to you, I was doing one-handed hand seals and created a Mizu Bunshin underground, which created a place for me, and then using a simple replacement I replaced myself with it, and then when my water clone destroyed itself, it loosened the earth below it enough for me to make an air hole, and then I created another Mizu Bunshin over by the trees, and throwing my voice I had to turn your attention that way, and when your back was turned I used the water from my first Mizu Bunshin to freeze your fan. Now as for the next destruction of your fighting style. Everyone here can see you are using every last ounce of your energy to hold my sei, but you see, I have 2 advantages against you. 1, the leftover water from my water clone that was in the trees, and also the 3rd water clone that replaced me inside the ground when I jumped out. Now, Sensatsu Suisho, death by 1,000 flying water needles. As the water from the second Mizu Bunshin formed into ice needles and then launched at Tamari, who screamed, having not moved fast enough to avoid all the needles as she jumped back. A dome of ice mirrors surrounded Tamari, and she said, Now you are no longer able to use long-range attacks since when you jumped I cut your fans and in these mirrors my speed increases 10-folds and I was able to beat the shit out of the Uchiha with his Sharingan in here. Haku grinned and started making one-handed gestures, saying, demonic ice mirrors. Sasuke was clenching his jaw and using all of his strength to squeeze the rail up in the stands. In an attempt to find a way out, Temari searched everywhere. Haku responded, now, there are 8 points that ensure death. There are also 128 chakra holes in the body. Besides these placed there are a total of 268 pressure points in the human body that can be used to cause pain, pleasure, or even simulate death or cause death depending on which one. They're the ones that cause pain are a total of 113. You're about to experience all of them. She then began shooting senbons out of each mirror. The volume of Tamara's screams reverberated throughout the arena, making everyone in the stands cringe. She's not dead. The last needle I sent puts a person in a false death. She will need to be in the hospital for several weeks though from my attack and she may never recover from some of the pain receptors. The match is over. Haku, who didn't even look tired, said as the ice mirrors fell to the ground 10 seconds later. When the medical staff arrived to collect Temari, Genma exclaimed, winner, Haku. The Kazekage replied to the applause, my, that was a very interesting match. I must say I am disappointed in my daughter having been so easily defeated, but I must ask, all the ice abilities that Haku used, are they really from a bloodline? Rune replied, perhaps not. I won't tell anything about either of my grandson's fiancés. I see. Well, that is 2 victories for Whirlpool. Do you think it will be a sweep for Whirlpool? The Kazekage scowled. The third and the Kazekage turned to face Rune as he snickered and remarked, oh, this next match is not really going to be a match, it's going to be a decimation. The third person questioned, what do you mean? According to Rune, just watch. Genma looked at him and thought, so it starts after this match. I hope everything is ready, and said, will Naruto Namikaze and Sasuke Uchiha please come to for the third match of the finals? Naruto reached into his weapons pouch, took out a book, and started to move toward the field as Sasuke leapt over the rail and landed gently on the ground. Everyone turned to watch him as he read on after he reached the floor and said, before this match begins I have a diplomatic announcement to make from the royal family of Whirlpool to everyone here. Sasuke exclaimed, what the hell are you doing, Dobi? Naruto turned his back and said, now that I have everyone attention, if you all would look underneath your seats you will find a copy of this book I have here in my hand. Everyone started searching and removing the book that was concealed beneath their seats as whispers spread throughout the audience. Naruto then bowed and left the arena, saying, now that you all have them I hand the rest of the announcement to His Majesty, the King of Whirlpool Country, Rune Uzumaki-sama. Sasuke was staring at Naruto and Rune balcony to say, thank you Naruto. Now I am sure you are all wondering why this book has been given to you and why it has been given at this time. Well, 3 days ago in every country besides the Fire Country this book was released in every village for free. Inside of the book contains the true history of the birth of the Sharingan, including how the Hyuga clan members changed their bloodline to it, as well as the truth of the Uchiha massacre. Everyone has been lied to about why Itachi Uchiha actually killed his clan, and the person who has lied to you is Sasuke Uchiha, causing everyone to look at. With a growl, Sasuke said, you lie. Now if anyone interrupts His Majesty again before he finishes I will behead Sasuke right now, and no one will be able to save him before I do it. So unless you want this boy's death on your hands you will listen well and learn the truth by your command, Your Majesty, said Sasuke, feeling Naruto's sword against his neck as he released a massive amount of ki while channeling Kyuubi's chakra. Rune nods and said, thank you Naruto. Now before I was interrupted I will continue my speech. You people of Konoha have seen how Sasuke Uchiha has always denied the girls who have tried to date him. Many believe that it was because he was shy, others believed it was for the girls' safety to protect them from Itachi, while some believed that he was simply gay. All of those are wrong. The truth of the matter is the same reason why Itachi killed his clan. The truth is no male Uchiha can pass on the Sharingan. It always has to be the female of the Uchiha clan who had to pass it on to their children. Sasuke knew the truth because he had heard Itachi fighting with his father when he discovered that his father had ordered the death of his girlfriend and unborn child to keep a secret. Imagine what would happen to the Uchiha clan council, which was completely made of males, if the females ever learned the truth that the males could not pass it down. Now since Itachi was the most powerful Uchiha since Uchiha Madara, if his child was born unable to have the Sharingan, would that not have caused a major blow? The Uchiha pride. Sasuke knew this was why his brother really killed his clan. He also knew that if the truth ever came out then he would lose all the special treatment he is getting from the council, the villagers, and others. Naruto met with the Hyuga clan prior to the start of the exams, and they agreed that since our family was the ones who first changed the Hyuga bloodline to the Sharingan, we could do it again. They agreed to change the bloodline of several of their members so that the Sharingan would survive, and they would also create a new clan. But not the Uchiha clan. You may be asking yourself. What good would it do if only the females could pass on the bloodline? The reason for this was that the first Hyuga who changed their bloodline were all female, and since none of them were male, we never altered the male DNA to be able to pass on the bloodline. Uchiha Madara was the firstborn child of one of the women who first got the Sharingan, and when he discovered that none of his children would be able to pass it on, he killed all of the first women who had it so the secret could be saved, and then had children with the daughters of the other woman who came after him, making it where only him and the males after him would know the truth along with us. Your so-called last Uchiha down there has already made plans to leave this village. Why else would he be so easily swayed into betraying this village? All of those who are on the council have told the Anbu he is a flight risk and to keep an eye on him. They just never knew the true reason he was a flight risk. All the evidence we have is in that book. That is all I have to say. You may now do as you please to him if you so chose. Naruto. The Uchiha, with the exception of Itachi, have broken their oath to our kingdom about treating their clan as one and not as slaves and servants, which is what they did to the females. As he turned and sat down. After Naruto vanished into smoke, the real Naruto grinned and said, "Like I said, Sasuke Hyuga, your spoiled life is over and now the people here know the truth, and I enjoyed revealing your secret and destroying you. Can we get this match started?" As he left the stairwell where he had always been. Genma, who had been waiting for the crowd to stop hurling objects at Sasuke, sighed and remarked, "The third match between Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Namikaze may begin." Uchiha jumped back, disgusted. "That's one. For every time you have treated me as inferior to you, I will break your bones, cause you incredible pain, and make you beg for death." Naruto looked bored and waited until he was within range before grabbing Sasuke's wrist and twisting it. Breaking the bone, he then delivered a standing side kick to Sasuke's stomach, knocking him away. Sasuke had already started charging Naruto with a kunai, screaming, "I'm going to kill you." As a wall of red energy erupted from the ground, enclosing Sasuke and Naruto inside a dome, Naruto then started to flash through hand signs, slammed his hand on the ground, and uttered the words, "Kitsune Tempest." Getting to his feet, Sasuke grunted and remarked, "So Dobi, you think you can hurt me?" Naruto remarked, "You say something, branch member." Sasuke growled and attempted to make hand gestures, but his focus was disrupted by his pained wince. Naruto noticed this and responded, "Oh, poor baby, does it hurt? Do you need your mommy to come and make it better? Well, too damn bad she's dead because of your bastard father." When Sasuke appeared in front of Naruto to kick him into the air, Naruto looked bored and kicked him in the face, breaking his nose and sending him skidding across the ground. Sasuke then activated his Sharingan and charged at Naruto with Lee's taijutsu speed. According to Kiba, who was up in the stands, "Ouch, that has got to hurt." Many around him were only able to nod. "This is bad. I know of that jutsu," Orochimaru thought. "Since it's the same as the one I intended to use to help kill Sensei, I know there is nothing I can do to save him. After this match, I think one of the new Sharingan users might be in better shape than Sasuke, so maybe I should let him die and take one of them instead. This would ruin my plan to breed more Uchiha from his body. I could simply use another body and take his eyes, but I would need a replacement if they were destroyed. I am not foolish enough to think that I could change the bloodline on my own by using Whirlpool's method. What should I do?" he asked, looking around. Sasuke was now on the ground, clutching his broken wrist near to his body and trying to stop the blood flow by holding his nose with his good hand. "What a disgrace, Sasuke. Maybe I should just end this since you're so weak," Naruto sighed. "Come on, take a look at yourself," he said, "Boo, hoo, and rubbed both fists under his eyes. The oh-so-great Sasuke Hyuga is now a snot-nosed little crybaby. My brother left me alive out of sympathy because my blood wasn't even worth smearing his weapon with, and I'm so weak. There you go, Sasuke, I have just made it where for the next 5 minutes I can't use chakra, and also I have blinded myself," he said, reaching into his weapon pouch, pulling out a blindfold, covering his eyes with it, and placing it on his chest. He put his hands behind his back and said, "Look, Ma. No hands. Let's see if having these 2 handicaps will give you back your courage to actually fight me, but it won't matter. Hell, I'll make it even more handicapped." With a growl, Sasuke snatched up a few shurikens in his dominant hand and hurled them towards Naruto. Naruto said, "You suck, Sasuke. I mean, I can smell the blood on them easily, while avoiding them all. What more must I do to earn your respect, please? I mean, with my hands behind my back, no chakra, and no vision, I now rendered myself weak. You have 4 minutes left. By the way, I'll turn you into a woman if you can't defeat me by then." This made every man in the stands flinch, and Sasuke lunged at Naruto, attempting to kick and punch Naruto, who was dodging all of them. Sasuke yelled. How are you doing this, after 2 minutes of this? Naruto remarked, you say something bitch. Every time he made a seal, Sasuke screamed and jumped back, flinching as he attempted to make hand signs. Then he grabbed his broken wrist and lightning began to form. When the Chidori appeared, many people's eyes widened around the arena. What the hell were you thinking teaching him that? Guy asked, turning to face Kakashi. Kakashi stated, I never imagined he would use it on Naruto. I did it to protect him from Orochimaru. Sasuke started charging Naruto with the Chidori down in the arena. He pulled back his hand and lunged at Naruto, who stood there as the Chidori struck him, but to everyone's surprise, nothing happened. Naruto started to laugh and uttered the words, 1098765432 1 times up. He then moved his hands to remove the blindfold and the tag. Sasuke, who was still holding Naruto's hand over his heart, kept staring at his chest before repeatedly gaping at his hand before asking, in a small, terrified voice, how? Poor, little Sasuke, you want to know how I am not harmed? Naruto grinned and then punched Sasuke in the chest, causing him to lose consciousness. Then, grabbing his fractured wrist once more, Naruto broke the bones. Then, as Sasuke screamed, he grabbed his fingers and started snapping them one by one. After that, Naruto kicked Sasuke in the head and broke his kneecap, causing the bone to protrude. Then, while Sasuke screamed in a high-pitched voice, Naruto channeled chakra into his hand to create a Rasengan and thrust it into his balls. Then Naruto pulled out a weapon scroll, wiped blood off it, bit his thumb, and threw the scroll into the air. The scroll then opened, launching kunais across the arena floor as he sank into the ground and flashed hand signals. A yellow flash appeared next to Sasuke as the scroll struck the ground, and he started playing pinball inside the dome. What they were seeing astounded everyone. There was no match for this. A massacre occurred. The jutsu being used was well known to all the Hiraishin. They knew the Rasengan, too. After roughly 3 minutes, the flashing ceased, and Sasuke's battered and bloody form lay on the ground. Naruto approached him, cut his own hand, and flashed hand signs, saying, now slave, return to your clan. He then placed one bleeding hand over Sasuke's eyes and the other over his head. Everyone was blinded by the intense light, and as it subsided, they saw Naruto leaving Sasuke's body and declaring, from this day forward Sasuke Uchiha is dead. In his place is Sasuke Hyuga. The only Hyuga who still carries the cage bird seal and will for the rest of her days. He approached the scroll, wiped his blood across it, and all the kunais shot up in smoke, and the scroll shut again. Genma was pale as he gazed at Sasuke's bloody form, and Naruto arched an eyebrow, shrugged, and said, well, if that's not enough to call the match, then perhaps this will be. He started making hand signs with his still bloody hands, slammed them against the ground, and uttered the words, Kachiyose e sent yatai kuzushi no jutsu food card destroyer technique. As a huge toad fell on Sasuke's legs, shattering them, and all that was a was a gurgling sound. When Genma realized that the previous attack was due to his tardiness, he exclaimed, winner Naruto Namakake. The toad vanishes as Naruto nods, and he proceeds up the stand. There is silence while medical personnel attempt to save Sasuke's life by tending to his body. After several minutes, one of the medics looked up at Naruto and Naruto said, no, I didn't kill him. I only attacked the pain receptors in his body like Haku did to Mari. I did break most of his bones, though I felt letting him live in pain and disgrace would be better revenge than granting him freedom from the pain. Now he will live the rest of his life feeling the same pain that Konoha has caused me in my life. As I was the sacrificial lamb my father used to save Konoha from Kyuubi, I made Sasuke the sacrificial lamb for all my hate toward Konoha. I now forgive you all for all that you have ever done to me, but I will never forget, and any who hurt those I call friends or family will experience everything Sasuke just did in real life, and then I will make you relive it over and over again in Genjutsu every night when you go to sleep. Imagine never getting another night's sleep without remembering the worst beating of your life. That is what I have to live through every night because of you, so be prepared. I will return the favor should Konoha not accept the baptism of pain and blood I just gave them, loud enough for everyone to hear. Rune gazed up at the cage in the cage box, who was still staring with wide eyes at Sasuke's mangled body. His head slowly slipped off his shoulder and hit the floor, and that was the last thing he ever saw. Amazing what wind manipulation can do to a body. Did you know that decapitation is one of the only way to truly kill a Jinchuriki? Well, that's the end of Orochimaru. The third Hokage leapt to his feet when he heard a loud noise and turned to see the cage's head lying on the ground. He then looked around before he started to leave, Edgar following him. The cage's two guards tensed as the third slowly reached for and removed the cage's face mask, revealing it to be Orochimaru. Without raising his head, the third uttered, "Tell your army to retreat and no harm shall befall them. Orochimaru has assassinated the Kazekage and taken his place." After nodding, both guards hurried off to spread the word. As he got up and moved to the balcony's edge, the third thought, "So this is your end, my old student," he said. "May I have your attention please? Orochimaru has assassinated the Kazekage." The village was filled with murmurs, and the third one said, "And Orochimaru has just been killed himself. Here is his head." He held it up by his hair for everyone to see. The third noticed the faces of those in the crowd and stated, "Now Suna and Otto. Both your leaders are dead. You either leave this village now and forget your invasion, or you will suffer the same fates as your leaders. You have 10 minutes to make it outside the walls or forfeit your lives." Sand and Otto started running right away. "Do you still wish to fight in the exams?" the third person asked, glancing at Shikamaru. "If you don't mind, the clouds look nice so," Shikamaru said as he lay back down on the ground after approaching and sitting in the shade of the arena. "It's too troublesome to. I would lose anyway, and a Chunin has to know when to not fight as well as fighting." The third laughed and replied, "I am calling the exams finished. Then there is no reason to force the Whirlpool team to fight itself. Thank you all for coming." Haku leaned against Naruto as he sighed as people started to depart, saying, "All's well the ends well." According to Haku, "Yeah it is," Tenten said, "So, when are we leaving?" as she approached them, her father following. Looking to his right, Naruto saw Edgar and his grandfather Rune approaching, and he remarked, "Whenever His Majesty says you can." "So you must be Tenten. I have heard a lot about you," Rune said as he approached. "Your Majesty, it is an honor to meet you," Tenten said with a bow. With a laugh, Rune asked, "So Haku, has she agreed?" As Haku put it, "Yes, Your Highness. You must be her father, because I can smell your scent from her," Rune said, nodding and turning to face Dustin. According to Dustin, "Yes, I am," nodding, Rune replied, "Would you like to come also? I mean I would not want to separate a father from his daughter. I know that pain well." With wide eyes, Dustin offered, "You would allow me to also come?" Dustin bows his head and says, "It would be an honor Your Majesty. I was afraid that I would never see my daughter again after she told me about wanting to be with Naruto-sama." "It's Naruto, you're going to be my father-in-law someday," Naruto moaned. Dustin replied, "All right Gaki, but if you hurt my daughter Zabuza's replied, "You would have to wait in line. After all he would have Tenten, Haku, me, Trinity and you all after him." "Damn it," moaned Naruto, "why is it that everyone on that list has a shitload of pointy objects to use?" Rune replied, "Probably because both Haku and Tenten are wanting to add your pointy object to their collections." As everyone else laughed, Tenten, Haku, and Naruto all flushed. Rune let out a sigh. "Well, as soon as our business this week is over with the Sharingans, the Hyuga, and talking with the Hokage we can leave, so I say you have until Friday to get ready. You should all go get started while I finish up my business. It will be some time before any of you see Konoha again." Everyone gives a nod, and Edgar and Rune proceed to complete their tasks. The volunteers' bloodlines were altered over the course of the following few days, and the council granted them the Uchiha residence. Sasuke's ninja status was revoked and he was only provided with the most basic medical care after reading the book. After the council seized his family's home for crimes against the village, he was given Naruto's old apartment and would never be able to walk or use one of his hands again. With his best wishes, the third consented to let Tenten and her father visit Whirlpool. A new treaty was signed after the Sand Village unconditionally surrendered to the Leaf. The Leaf sent someone to look into the mysterious destruction of the Sound Village. Now, a building remained, but from above, it appeared as though a massive whirlpool had been charred into the earth. After speaking with Naruto, Hinata accepted her fear of him, expressed regret, and asked to be his friend. Since she never really enjoyed fighting, Naruto was taken aback when she asked her father if she could join the Hyuga who went to Whirlpool as part of the agreement. When Rune promised to give her access to some of their ancient healing knowledge, Hiyashi, who had initially opposed it, gave in to her request because Hinata preferred healing over fighting. Before Naruto set out to find Tsunade, Jiraiya handed him the next book in his series in order to ensure that the threat posed by Akatsuki was still addressed. He was also informed that he could visit his godson, but he would need to wait for an escort on the final island before entering Whirlpool. The Genin's teams had to be reorganized because Hinata and Tenten were departing after a personal test. Shikamaru, Naruto, Trinity, and Haku were all given the rank of Chunin. Gaara had his seal fixed so the demon would let him sleep, and Temari was led back to the sand, still recuperating from her match because of the flaming kitsune tattoo that Naruto gave him on his arm while he was asleep during the sealing. He still fears him. Sakura apologized for her treatment of Naruto and asked if they could start over during their conversation. If she agreed to go on a date with Lee, Naruto promised to write to her occasionally. Tenten and Haku hog-tied Lee, shaved him, burned his green spandex, and got him nice clothes for his date with Sakura. When Naruto and both of his fiancées spied on the date, he started to perspire. Naruto asked if having pink hair allowed you to not breathe after the kiss had lasted 3 minutes, suggesting that it was love at first sight when Sakura tripped and Lee caught her, twisting himself so that he landed on the bottom. Sakura was assigned to the same team as Guy, Lee, and Kiba. They were dubbed Team Banshee by Kakashi. Shino was assigned to Asuma along with Ino and Choji since Neji wanted to help heal the division between the houses. He was placed on the reserve list for the time being and started training under Hiyashi to become the next heir. Yakumo, a former apprentice of Kurenai, received assistance with her issue when Edgar went to look into a small demon's odor. After he handled it, the third agreed to let Kurenai start assisting the girl once more. Zabuza gave Kakashi his ass in retaliation for putting Naruto in danger, treating him badly, and killing him and Haku, but that was only a small portion of the retaliation. Yes, indeed. Today, the third sighed as he peered out his office window. He glanced at the Hokage monument in front of Minato as he said, "I hope when I see you again, Minato, you can forgive me for the pain I caused your son and for failing to protect him. He left yesterday to start his new life, and I doubt I will live long enough to see him again. I hope you and Kushina are looking down at your boy and smiling because he is becoming a fine young man." When someone yelled, "Konohamaru, what are you doing on the Hokage monument?" he closed his eyes and sighed. According to Konohamaru, "I'm painting the monument after boss." As the Yondaime's face now had 3 whisker marks on either side, the third opened his eyes, took a few moments to study the monument, and burst out laughing, thinking, "Looks like you really did get your face on the monument, Naruto."